We have launched.
Welcome, everybody. Planet Green Trees. And we have launched, and we're officially starting in episode number 455. Per Steve Miller, we're calling it The Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Wait a minute.
Hashtag dickweeds.
Yes, hashtag dickweeds.
Hashtag. That means it doesn't count.
And,
But it's still official.
Did I hear my intro?
We did. We
Yeah.
named the show and caused your response to Steve Miller's on drink. Today is 3/12/2020. It's fair to say that our nation is in a panic of concern of current health scare. And,
Michael, you should take Jamie's microphone for a minute.
we're all gathering. I should, but
Yeah, trust me.
we're all gathered here anyways, and we're continuing on. And we're sharing microphones. Look at that. There's no concerns here.
No,
Is that what they call it nowadays?
This is not gonna
it's
work.
important to share things.
We no longer just bump mics. We
That's
actually
right.
share.
It's not plugged in.
As I was going to say.
That's why.
Okay, that's why.
Well, we'll address
If it
that.
plugs in,
We'll
it'll
address.
work better, right?
Yeah, Jamie, you know all about plugging things in like that, right? There you go.
I know how to stick the square peg in the round hole.
Good job, Jamie. There we go. That's better. All right, we're good now.
All right, so
Hello.
we'll continue on right now.
I fixed it. Thank you very much.
Way to go, Jamie.
We got a lot of great topics to talk about. We got some fantastic guests who are going to add to the conversation. But as we do, let me start by introducing the community entertainment that surrounds me. Running the monitors over there, and I think we discussed earlier the most powerful machine running podcast in the state of Michigan right now. In the blue corner, please welcome Tommy Two-Tone.
Hey guys, great to be here. Looking forward to the show.
He looks like he's CFO. He very well may be. And we'd like to call him Jim Powers. He's here tonight with us. Promises to be funny. Please welcome Jim Powers.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. Good to be seen. Happy Thursday to everybody, and looking forward to a great show. Fuck Bill shooting.
All right. Jim has been doing the math on some of the statistics associated with the data and the virus. He's going to be reporting on that a little bit later.
Bring some data to you.
Here's the expert.
And then we're going to listen to Jamie because he's responsible for everything, including COVID-19, apparently.
The good parts of it.
And moving around the room, we have the Mother Bear here with us. She's
I thought it was very clear that I was responsible for things
And-
way over Jamie. He didn't even make the list. It was a short list, and Jamie wasn't even on it. And yet I was.
Oh, Jamie.
And responsible for everything. All things.
There are some minority perspectives out there.
Debra Young, thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here, Michael. You know.
What are we going to do if the Stones tour gets canceled?
It's going to be canceled, and I'm going to be freaking out. But right now, I'm still in the calm state. But it will be canceled.
How about all the performers similar to the Stones who have summers planned to make a living and
yeah.
continue
Somebody's
to
going to
feed
be create like a suit that you put on, and
That won't
it
be
just
any
works,
fun.
and then you can go out in
Yeah.
public.
They're gonna. Everything's canceled. My whole summer is shot now. I'm gonna be stuck in the house
All right.
eating dog food.
Hmm.
But I got lots of toilet paper.
All right, good. That will be something to be bartered.
Hmm. I
And
told Dave that today. I said, you know what? So, yeah.
we are delighted to have with us from the Elevation Station the one and only Amanda Jocelyn. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to start pricing out some bunny suits. And I already have been shopping on Amazon to put a few things in my cart so I don't have to go into the stores.
Interesting. We could also say that Jamie mentioned the suit. Deb, if either of you come up with a solution to the health crisis, please chime in. We're all challenged.
We've been working on it diligently 24/7, and I'm sure that quite soon it'll be gone, and it'll all because of us.
Right now we have something like just a really large condom.
Yes. Yeah, it's a country condom. Well, each state will have their own condom, actually.
Makes sense.
There's only 15 known accounted for diagnoses of, and it's going to go to 0 soon, I think is what they said, right? Oh, no, that was...
What are you talking about,
The
Mike?
third one was just confirmed in Michigan not too
yeah.
long ago today.
I'm kidding. That was the executive branch
No, that was
position.
Oh, yeah,
Trump said
Trump
early on.
said, yeah.
And then it's going to burn off in
No,
April.
what Trump
as it
said,
warms
wash
up a
your
little bit.
hands, pray, and it'll go away in April. That's it.
Well, because it'll get a little warmer.
So I'm very reassured, aren't you?
It's good advice.
Yeah.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
And Steve Miller is here. He's responsible for naming the show, and also he's going to provide the appropriate list for your shopping pleasures when you stock up to live at home. Please welcome Steve Miller with his list.
Hello. And everybody be safe out there.
What's the shopping list? You gave it to us earlier.
Okay, we want it now. Get stuff that's not going to go bad, canned goods,
Toilet paper.
Frozen
grains,
items,
Rice.
oatmeal, rice,
frozen beans,
pastas.
frozen vegetables, frozen fruit.
Yeah.
Make sure your dogs have food, because that wasn't a joke. Make sure your dogs have food, because
Right.
I think a lot of
We
people
just
aren't
got
thinking
some
about
extra
that.
for them yesterday.
I did.
for sure.
Yeah.
I did too.
I stocked up on
So
it.
it's.
It doesn't hurt to have it. You'll use it sooner or later anyway.
I don't know. We don't know how this is going to turn out. So better to be a little self-sustaining for a few weeks, month, or longer if you can figure it out, and better to be prepared than not before people start panicking.
Thank you, ex-cop Stephen Miller.
Very, very quiet tonight in an uncharacteristic way, but still dressed like a French poet. And are you wearing blue gloves?
Well, I have.
Joel, there will be no whippets consumed in here. That is not allowed.
Well, I was
I didn't see
sensitized
that
by
on
all
the
of
rule
this.
list.
I was sensitized by all of this, having to on Valentine's Day run into Canada because my mother-in-law was in an emergency room with pneumonia as a result of what they diagnosed as
SARS.
RVS. Now, it was a much older virus, but it did its damage 20 years ago and was still very active. So I was immediately sensitized for a week-long cap and gown and ICU and emergency. So coming back into this was just understanding that we need to prepare to shelter in place. So beans, lots of beans.
You made
canned
it out.
beans.
You made it out though, right?
Made it out to where?
I mean, you're still here.
Well, he's obviously still
yes,
here.
I'm still here.
You have an
This-
you
This
represent
is
an
a
optimistic
traveling
message.
hologram, okay?
Wipes are a good thing. It's always good to have.
How much does
your
it cost?
Hot
Are you selling
packets
those?
I'm not selling them.
Okay.
I've got a trunk full of them.
Are they alcohol
Well, you better not
They
say that out
are-
loud.
What kind of car do you drive?
No one
Yeah.
knows where I am. Antibacterial
Dangerous
hand
times.
wipes. These are always good to carry in your pocket.
They don't
And
do anything for
this mask,
particular
this
Oh,
kind of a
my.
mask, you should know, is only good if you or yourself are infected, because it just allows you to keep stuff in. And actually, what's quite interesting, if you can still get to Home Depot, where all the masks are gone, you will not find these gloves in the paint department. But if you go to the home cleaning department, they've got plenty. So.
I have some for sale if anybody's looking. I have gloves and I also have masks.
That'd be a good business.
But they were in
Buy
my
some
basement.
gloves and a mask and get a free
I had a box
gift
of masks in my
cannabis.
basement.
Just
They've
kidding.
been there for years, and I'm like, whoa, we can finally use these.
Well, just.
But I haven't even used one yet.
Just, binge a lot of TV is, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, a little
sure.
nut-
Shelter in
Netflix
place.
marathon.
But I will say there's all kinds of things that are obviously closed.
Joel's going to read this article. I'm going to hand it to him. USDA Secretary blames the DEA for the hemp rules.
I got one
You're
thing
gonna
I
be
got
questioning
to
this later.
interject here.
Yes,
Mike,
please.
Dave just texted me, Detroit has no school tomorrow.
Okay. Did he try
So
public
we were
school?
just talking
Right.
about that the students would be there. They are not going to be there.
They just chose days like Friday and Monday?
I don't know. He just texted me and said, school's done.
All right. If there's
So
but we don't know
I
how
don't know
long.
for how long. Who
School's out
knows?
for summer. And
no
it's,
students. I'm sure he's got a report because they don't care if if the gym teacher gets sick, who cares?
because my children's school was
Except for
shut
me.
down for Friday and Monday only.
Oh, you'll see. It could be,
It could be that. It could be longer. Who knows?
Yeah, they're training the teachers so, your kids can sit in front of a computer at home and learn.
That's right.
That's what they're doing.
And I know we didn't want to pass over him, but it's he just had his birthday in the most cliche way possible. Dewey is now driving around in a car that should only be described as like a Shazam car. Shazam car he got here, but it's his birthday. I mean, as I say, cliche. What do? You go out and middle-age crisis. You get a fast roadster car there and speed around everywhere, but you wouldn't think that'd be his mojo. But here he is, the birthday boy. Dewey,
Hi,
happy
everyone.
birthday.
Hey.
And Pam, happy birthday.
Yeah, I want to say thanks to everyone who sent me the birthday wishes. And if you're out around Livingston County, Brighton, Howell, stop in and see my wife at her store. It's called Rare Findings. You will be happy.
In fact, you found that car there. Isn't that where you picked up that car? That was there as a rare finding?
Yeah.
Just kidding. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we are honored to have with us John Schlicker, the Cannapalooza, the founder and director. And John is here from the great north of Michigan, and we're glad to have him. Thanks for being here today, John.
Northeast Michigan Normal.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. And I am glad to be here on behalf of Northeast Michigan Normal and Cannapalooza worldwide. The coronavirus has got everybody in a panic, I think, but as been mentioned, self-contain and protect yourself. That'll slow the disease. So it's here. There's not what we can do. So, Cannapalooza worldwide will be happening. Cannapalooza 2020. Location has been located, and just stay tuned for more details coming real soon. Thank you.
All right.
So mysterious, and I'm so intrigued. I can't wait.
Located locations are
I know.
some of the best kinds of
Yeah.
locations. That
The
there are.
best event in the state, by the way, for our listeners who haven't been there. Absolutely the best event.
In 2020
It's a lot
will
of
be
fun.
no different. And of course, last but not least, the one that's responsible for everything
Everything good?
and accountable for it. Not
Well,
just-
everything I know I learned from Jamie.
wait, did he just qualify himself as everything that's good, but not?
That was the original assertion
I
about
think
my
it was-
accomplishments, and then it kind of got warped into having to incorporate some of the bad stuff too. And now
Now he's back to
yeah,
all things Army.
I'm just making sure
It's
I'm
really
clarifying.
unfortunate.
Well, we're happy to have him, Jamie Lowell, the one and only. One half of the dynamic duo.
Mr. Ironcock himself.
The iron cock.
That I hadn't heard. That's a new moniker. I love that one.
We have a question.
The Iron Cock and
What
Hemp
about Iron
Cock
Cock
side
over
by
here?
side. It's
The
perfect.
Cock Brothers.
The Cock
So,
There you go.
Do you want to throw that question in, Amanda?
There was a question on online here from Derek Coleman in regards to how cannabis helps with the coronavirus.
Oh. Well, we'll definitely.
It does have antiviral properties, whether or not it really does much for this thing. I mean, there's not enough.
Jamie's going to
about
conduct
it is
further
known.
studies.
Well, I think
Yeah.
smoke kills germs.
I will try to smoke quite a bit in defense, in
See, it
preemptive strike.
Well, in
got
research,
nothing to lose.
there's
Yeah.
research being done. We mentioned that
gonna
earlier.
try to
Jamie and
ramp
I
it
are
up a little
researching
bit.
many things. And
I think the
that's
honey
one of them.
helps. I think the
Yeah.
infused honey might help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll certainly
I mean,
keep
I
you
s-
calm if you have to stay in the house for 2 weeks.
I think it helps. Helps a lot.
Well,
Helps pain.
A lot of doctors'
pain
opinions
relief.
here. Take this as
So during-
medical advice.
Right.
Right.
It's totally.
Catch the
we
disease
totally-
and smoke as much cannabis as you want.
Yep.
Pickle
Kidding.
yourself.
This is not medical advice.
No, I'm just saying I'm
Nothing.
personally ramping up. That's all I'm saying.
Seeing that we're currently
Follow
in
my
the
example or do not.
crisis of infinite Earths.
Let's discuss it like this. Anything that we talk about is intended to be entertainment and not medical advice or legal advice for that matter.
But-
as we go through some of these topics that I'm about to tease, Jamie, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to get in the update on
Oh yes, please.
my establishment that I am a part of in Northeast Michigan. Northeast Michigan, in East Tawas. The Botanical Company is officially rec, and sales begin tomorrow.
Yay.
Excellent.
It's
And
awesome.
and then on Saturday we are having the event. We have put out a notice for people to stay home if you're sick. Use your sleeve or
Yeah.
handkerchief or whatever, and
Bring your sleeve.
don't touch each other a lot during the show or whatever.
Keep your hands
Whatever
off one another.
would
We're
help
gonna have
out.
to monitor Jamie and Rick very closely.
This is a relatively
closely.
it's a relatively small group, 150 people. It's way up north. I don't think the germs have made their way up there yet. Anyway, that's also science.
Wasn't that our job? We're
Yeah.
taking it with us.
That's good. That's
And,
really good.
Until we get there, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we bring the stuff with us.
Yeah.
Are you responsible for everything at this event too, Jamie?
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Excellent. Wouldn't
Sure.
expect anything less.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. It is.
You didn't even mention the other star of the event. Or the other part of the event.
Well, I will now,
Okay.
and I'll say. Well, first of all, the event is one of Darren's slapstick comedy tour productions, where he has different comedians, and in this particular one, he's got Cam Big Fellow Rowe. Hopefully, I think it's going to be queued up during one of these breaks for the little video that Darren made. It was on last week, and people told me they saw it, which was very cool. It is a community effort I don't have the list in front of me, but I did post it earlier. Some of our vendors, but a lot of like businesses from around town, the print shop, a local motel. I'm not going to do it justice, but there's about 10 or so. The other dispensary in town, High Level Health, and it's all a community effort to put on this production, and then all the proceeds go to the local youth hockey league, the Taos Hockey Association.
I saw Third Coast on the list.
Well, Third Coast Customs, my brother. It's true. Third Coast Customs, my brother's custom car shop up in Oscoda. They've helped out with Cannapalooza worldwide, and they've been great to the community. We've had events at their locations. They'll do some good work on your cars if you need it, especially customizing cars or fixing up old cars that people have had around for a while. And they want to, see what they look like in their prime. They get those. They do that kind of stuff, or they help to find a kind of car that you want and fix it up. But anyway, a lot of companies from the area have all gotten together with it. So we're using it for celebration, but it also demonstrates being a part of the community and helping out. And this group's trying to build an ice rink. So I think we'll probably raise a couple $1,000s or so, or,
That's always
for
a cool
them.
thing to build an ice rink.
And then we're talking about maybe trying to get Darren to come back a month later and be there to hand over the donation to the group and stuff like that, and
That'd be cool.
follow up, because then a lot of the kids could meet him then, because
Yeah.
they're all excited by the fact that he's involved in this stuff for sure. But not all of them are going to be
Absolutely.
there at the show, obviously.
Oh, I bet you there's going to be a few.
Oh, there could be.
Yeah. Kids always want to meet him.
But one of the things we're doing here, obviously, is we're not like creating the date that we're going to get started and then having a big production over, which is a cool way to do it, and a lot of, and I've been at a couple of them, and they are fun, and it's really exciting. But the way we started originally was we just kind of started, and this is the way we're going rec too, pretty much. I mean, we're going to talk about it and put word out, but there's not going to be a special production for it. We're going to kind of piggyback on this Saturday night and just help use it as a way to get the word out and to celebrate it a little bit.
Excellent.
So tomorrow up in East Taos, it begins. 21 adults, 21 and over.
Very nice. That's great.
Yep.
I mean, just think about that.
The event is going to be at the Taos Bay Beach Resort in East Taos, right off the main US 23.
Right on the water.
Right on the water. Yep. And then the store is just mile or so down the street, on the left side next to the Dean Arbor dealership. In between the Dean Arbor dealership and the putt-putt golf place.
Yes, it is.
Former PNC Bank.
Sounds like it's been pretty intimate up there.
It's a whole recreational area.
I've been going up to that area my whole life. My dad had a summer cottage there that his parents put together when they were teachers and they had the summer off. So they got a nice lot on the beach up there and set up. And so I've been going up to that area my entire life. I have family there still, and my brothers have that shop up there and everything. It's great for me. I dig it.
That's excellent.
But this is a nice thing, and the fact that Darren's involved in it too with what he does is really cool, and that it helps out a hockey thing, that it's a community thing, that it's a cannabis thing. It's all a cool
Good
thing.
all the way around.
Yep, and it is one of the few events still going on. So if you actually want to get out and do
Right,
something,
everything's been canceled, but it's
it's that 150 person thing is around where they like to see people be a little bit more socially aware and maybe reduce those. It's kind of on the brink for us, but we're going through with it. That's all. And again, putting out the notice that people should be very careful and follow all the protocols with the hand washing and bumping elbows and all that
and a
kind
little
of stuff.
Jamaican style for the weekend.
Yeah, and that's easy to provide,
Very
especially
easy.
where we're going to be. Yeah. And who will be there, and everything combined will be nice for them.
First annual.
And Razor Ray is going to be there. He's not participating in the show, but he's coming out to hang
His
out.
spirit
a
will
little
be
bit.
there. He will be there.
Yeah.
Good.
Deb will be there.
I will be
Steve's
there.
talking about coming out.
Steve, you can come now.
John's obviously going to be
Right.
I don't
there.
want to abandon my kids.
Rick Thompson's going to be there. Ryan Basor is going to be
Crisis.
there.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really
Yeah.
excited.
A lot of members of the community from up there are
Yeah.
going to be there.
Derek Gauchi's coming too, and
Hell
I
yeah.
think he's bringing his wife.
Yep, Derek and Lauren Gauchi are coming.
Derek and Lauren Gauchi will be there.
Oh, Chrissy from one of the comedians from Knuckleheads is going to come to. She wants to meet Darren and make herself available for those shows when,
Cool.
possibly if he's up in the area, needs a comedian to be on one of those or whatever. And she was really funny.
She was.
Yeah, all of them were, man. It was
Yeah.
it was a good show.
I love a good comedy show.
But anyway, thank you very much for I can start off with that instead of trying to pack it in at the end. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. And many of you may or may not have noticed, but Jamie had his hair done today and is having a great hair day.
Yeah,
Looks
it really
fantastic.
nice.
Doesn't it? Everywhere he goes,
Good
people have been
job,
telling him that,
Jamie.
Really
including
nice.
here.
Super nice.
Compliments to the barber.
I got my hair did. I got my hair did.
Did
by-
you use
by,
hemp cock?
He used Hempcock products.
Okay, all right,
That's
let's
why
go.
he looks so
Okay.
good.
It was a,
The idea was to move
it
on.
was, it was a
politely
Filipino woman who
get a new-
was
oh,
coughing a lot,
Me.
and that is the truth. And the whole time I'm going, this is probably not cool. You
As
know,
the title
but I just
intimates
had to do
here,
it.
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Topic number one, the U.S.
Thank you,
Corona
Michael, for going with
Hashtag-
us.
travel
Weeks.
ban hits 27 European countries, Detroit public school system, and others. Number two, he was sick with pneumonia, but a judge sent him to jail for being late to court. Oh, I know that judge.
Sucks to be him.
The USDA.
We kind of ended up swapping mics.
And you'd like it better.
Well,
It's
that
got,
one was-
it's got
Man,
greater
I know this is
girth
probably
for sure.
short-lived, but I really appreciate
Yeah.
being this quality mic here for a minute
Yeah.
or two.
Give it back right now if you're having so much fun. Send it over here.
Look at Michael's little earphones too. That's how come we don't have?
We ordered a
those?
bunch of new stuff. Tommy's got the
Well, I
credit
didn't
card.
get
He just
one of
orders from
those.
Amazon. It shows up here. I use it. I don't know. He's in charge.
Tell me, I want one of those too.
So my topic, which I refused to talk about before because I wanted to get everyone's live reaction. Do we have time for this? It's kind of the rant kind of topic. How much
Well,
time? Is he
how
in the
long-
queue? Is he in the queue?
Yes.
Oh, he is. Okay, then let's.
No, he's
No.
not.
No,
Okay.
he's not yet.
So
Does he have to do something?
We got pick up.
what? So the topic I want to talk about is that this is driving. I mean, it's dinosaur stuff a little bit, but still one of these social justice issues that remain today. We know that in Michigan traffic law, in the 257, 625 statutes, there's the crimes for driving under the influence of controlled substances and alcohol. Drunk driving, really known legally as operating while intoxicated. There's a lesser included operating while impaired. And then there's a crime which has been used regarding cannabis in the system, which is operating while intoxicated or under the influence of a controlled substance, to wit, THC or cannabis. There had been a crime, still remains in the books, which is known as operating with the presence of a controlled substance. Jim Powers, I need you to pay attention.
Well, we got Ben on now. So do you want to hold, or what do you want to do?
Can I just finish this? It won't take long.
It's your choice. It's your show.
Does he mind waiting a couple of seconds?
I don't know. I can see his face. I don't think he can hear us though. He's on Skype.
He probably wants to hear about it.
All right, well, let me just.
I'm
it's
sure he
okay.
wants to hear
Jim,
your
I
voice.
need you. Jim, pay attention, please. So,
We're trying to fix this.
operating with with any presence of a controlled substance, right? This is a crime that prohibits you from having cannabis, THC, in your bloodstream and being in a car that's operating or driving on a road open to the public. That's a crime. The determination of how well you're driving is not an issue. Okay? Now, many people would believe that upon the passage of the recreational law that Jamie was responsible for and Deborah was responsible for,
I didn't see Jamie on the list.
and nobody else wrote the law. Anyways, it would seem to suggest in
I was
the
only
prohibition
co-author on the
section,
list, but okay.
seems to suggest in the prohibition section that that exactly the passage of the recreational law ended the idea that existed that the any presence of a controlled substance could exist, right? Because as it says in the law, this act does not authorize operating, navigating, or being in physical control of any motor vehicle, aircraft, snowmobile, off-road recreational vehicle, or motorboat.
Motorboat, right? I love the motorboat.
While under the influence of marijuana. This suggests that it overrides the existing law of any presence of a controlled substance. However, can a person under the age of 21 be charged with any presence of a controlled substance?
Are you asking me?
I'm
Is this a
rhetorically
rhetorical?
stating that as a rhetorical Socratic method of inquiry. Jim,
Yeah.
you paying attention?
I am.
What's the
Jim
question
has
that's
to
being
answer,
posed?
not mine.
I don't remember.
Can someone under 21 be charged
With the any presence of-
controlled substance? See, I
Yeah,
listened.
of course.
Thank you.
Anybody
You're
can be charged with that currently.
Well, I'm arguing right here that Section 4 of the Act specifically says overrides this particular aspect of the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code by stating that this act does not authorize operating, navigating, etc., while under the influence of marijuana. It says that, right? Any presence of marijuana in your system no longer exists, we would argue, because of MRTMA, right?
Yes.
Why? Because it says that, right?
Because it says that.
And in the intention of this law compared to another law, this law is superior. If there's a conflict, it's got a conflict
It
clause.
is superior.
Okay.
I agree.
But can a person under the age of 21 be charged with this? In other
No.
words, did the legislature
No.
and the crafters of this intend for there to be no protections for someone under the age of 21?
No.
Well, let me ask you this. Does the law not state in its initiation this law is intended to legalize marijuana for adults over the age of 21?
Yeah, but what does that really mean? I mean, the beginning of the act said a bunch of things about its intent too, and nobody seemed to give a shit about that.
Well, it's supposed to be legal for adults, and then we have to create a recreational market for
Yeah, and
sales.
it was also supposed to decriminalize it for those under 18 for very specific reasons.
I don't know that it says that.
It doesn't say that. I'm
Okay,
telling you
but
what the intent was.
I'm going to tell you this.
And what the
Listen to what
discussion-
I'm saying, though. As I read the scope, Section 4, scope of act, unauthorized activities with marijuana and marijuana accessories, etc., this is what the act does not authorize, okay? It specifically does not operating, navigating, or being in physical control of any motor vehicle, aircraft, snowmobile, off-road, recreational vehicle, or motorboat while under the influence of marijuana.
Motorboat.
Notice that the age that is not allowed here, the statute that we're referring to here, does not suggest there's an age limit. But if we read on, it says this act does not authorize the transfer of marijuana or marijuana accessories to a person under the age of 21.
Yeah.
So it says it right there.
It
Can
doesn't
a
authorize
person
the
transfer marijuana or accessories
But we
to a
all know
person?
that a transfer, the protections of a transfer can be asymmetric now, don't we?
I'm saying to you this, that when we read statutes and see what does this statute say, we look for specifics. We don't read into the law anything that doesn't exist. We don't give any word, any greater meaning than any other word in the sentence. Nowhere in the section that is relied upon to suggest, make the argument that it overrides the any presence, is there a age limitation? Okay? But there is an age limitation of marijuana and accessories being transferred to someone under 21. Specifically, reading on, any person under the age of 21 who possesses, consumes, purchases, otherwise obtains, that's not allowed.
Right.
Okay? Specifically, if you're under the age of 21.
You're still talking about the transfer.
Consuming also?
Yeah.
But if I read
and they
on...
can get a ticket for that. But it doesn't mean that you can be charged for driving under the influence just because you register, 3 nanograms in your blood. I mean, that's bullshit. Sorry.
Well, the point that I'm making is that people are getting charged with this.
Of course they
I can show you an amended complaint as such, and I would say that this is a novel would be an understatement, but an unresolved issue. I would like to get everyone's opinion on this in here, and we'll take 40 minutes each person to talk. Is that okay? I'm just kidding.
As soon as we go to Ben Horner.
All right, that's fine.
We can do that.
Jamie, I mean,
Cliffhanger for after Ben.
all right, fine. Okay, so Ben Horner is calling in. If I understand, let's see if
Is he
the
on?
technology works.
We
Let's
had him for a second. I saw him.
frame the topic
There he
here.
is. Is that him?
Yeah, that's him. I see Ben.
I can see the bill.
I can see. Yeah, I can see like the bill of his hat and the outline of his face. It's kind of mysterious this
It
way.
is.
It's like the
He's in the
secret
dark.
Can you hear
witness.
us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There he is.
Okay.
Now he's in full light.
All right.
All right, Ben. How we
Maybe
doing?
put it back.
Can you
Maybe
hear
Ben
us?
wants to stand still a little bit. But
Can
okay,
you
Ben,
hear-
how you doing? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thanks
Good.
for joining
It
us. Okay,
works.
so
Hi, Ben.
This is the first.
Hey,
This is the first Skype call with
Yeah, it's
with
the first time we've done Skype.
with
Planet
video,
Green
isn't it?
Trees says this is our historical
Yeah.
moment.
this
with
should be a
Ben.
moment that just reflects how great Tommy is in putting this together. The technology of
Sure.
things that are the different apps that are intertwining here.
And Ben is a part of history now.
You made it.
So Ben, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about, amongst other things, this proposed phase out of caregiver sales to dispensaries or caregiver sales to licensed growers and processors, and more specifically, this conversation that occurred on the
Safer List.
Safer List, which is a email listserv managed by Tim Beck and Chuck Reams, on a conversation about whether or not this should occur and whether it should go forward. And let me just frame this, Ben, and then I want to you can explain why we asked you to call in. But Paul Samways, who's an accountant and an active, let's call him an activist, but he's a stakeholder, I would guess you'd say, in the community.
He pays attention to what's going on now with the
says I had the pleasure of speaking with Robin, referring to Robert Schneider yesterday, and we discussed the numerous challenges currently facing the supply chain here in Michigan. In my bid to be more positive and due to a total lack of sleep, I've come up with a modest proposal based on my years of experience working with caregivers and caregiver transition programs. Here are the rough highlights. And he goes on to suggest a number of different
It should be said that it was made very clear that Robin wasn't a part of any of this.
Well,
or
at
her
first it seemed like
organization.
she was, but then she came in and said,
Right,
yeah,
but wait, he
I
just read
about-
that for those who don't know that
He
happened
made
later
it sound
on.
like
yeah.
he had discussed this with Robin, and they had come up with these or she had given some kind of approval.
And it just should be mentioned that she came in
She
and
has
said
denied.
that did not happen.
Right.
Right.
No,
And they
That's our
don't-
legal department
No,
right there, Michael.
I don't know that he said this, but let me just propose this. I think from an accountant's standpoint, because accountants and lawyers may not always agree on the proper advice to give, and I would say that's a fact. And my advice to someone 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago on how to deal with tax and money would be completely different than the advice that he may have been giving then, okay? But he's an accountant and he gives tax advice, and his advice is more likely than not, pay your taxes and account for your income that you're making, whether it's cash, whether it's illegal or illegal. I may not give that advice, but nevertheless, I can only imagine the frustration that he has had and the challenges he's had with doing this in a manner when there's really no clear methodology of how to report, especially for caregivers. Okay? And what do I mean by that? The law of the MMA says that a caregiver can receive compensation for costs. What does that mean? Nobody knows. It means, is it a wash? Is it what if you make $3 more than your expenses? Does that mean you're violating the law? Some law enforcement people will tell you that. So this is not an area of clarity. There are people, and the tax laws do allow people to report income gained by illegal means. And that's the whole 280E, which is that if you have to pay your taxes no matter what, legal or illegal, and depending on whether it's legal or illegal, it's going to guide you on whether or not you can take traditional write-offs off your gross in reporting your net taxes. So what my takeaway cursory, and I want everyone else to discuss, I do not want to implement the frame other than just trying to inform what we're talking about here. But my takeaway is that Paul sees a lot of people that are caregivers that are in the industry, that have gotten into the industry either during the MMA, maybe tail end of it, and they've taken advantage of the lack of supply within the market. They've opened up, gone from homes or opened up for the first time in industrial places, growing plants to the ceiling, and having a source to take it to because the state is in dire need of flour and other supply chains. So when those circumstances present themselves in a professional capacity, and there isn't a lot of clarity on what those individuals are supposed to do, one of the ways to kind of go about this is to say, bring them into the licensed area. And there's a path to do this. There's the Class A licenses, which allow caregivers who are going to the basement, if a city's opted in, if they can find a building and get it approved.
It's
And
a
there's
micro-business.
And come out of the dark into the light. So that's what he was suggesting. Now,
He also included legitimizing what caregivers do, just as long as they meet standards and pay taxes, which is what I agreed with him.
But
okay. However, everything that we're talking about was never acceptable in the original interpretation of the MMA. This is a fantasy that Lara has come up with by looking the other way and not punishing facilities for accepting that. Now, I've represented hundreds of people that have been charged with that exact act, making money, having overages. Overages was a fucking sin. It was contraband. It was something that a caregiver patient couldn't have. So his suggestion of this is clearly on those individuals who have been making money as caregivers. There are still caregivers that exist, I'm going to suggest, who do not make money. They may grow, ingest it themselves. They've got their 5 or 6 patients. There is. But it's important that we recognize the distinctions of what the MMA is and what it was and what it's supposed to be and how Lara may have opened up some opportunities. And it may work and it may be a great plan. But it is certainly not.
It was working well before Lara got involved, and that's why they went back to it, because it was the only
I do not disagree with that.
System.
Their mistake was probably to cut them out. But the discussion that we're talking about right now is that they're going to phase them out anyways. That's the plan. They want to listen. In 2016, when they came up with the MMFLA, they already had 40,000 caregivers supplying the 300,000 patients. They didn't need to create C licenses. They already had them, right? but they chose to say those are not going to be our people. They're not going to be part of the business. They can exist, and we're going to create a completely separate market that's going to compete.
Yeah, but Paul is calling for caregivers to
Let Ben-
voluntarily.
So then,
let Bennett make his points. I'm sorry, Ben. I've been rambling on, but I was trying to frame the issue. What are your thoughts? Where do you fall in on all this?
Me?
You.
Oh, you know, I am. Well, you know, I think that it's. I think Paul's got some, courage to come out and say we should be proactive and come up with, some solutions. And I don't know if he's got his theory is very, very good, but the idea, the spirit behind it is nice.
Well, the 12 plants. I mean, that's the thing that pissed
well,
everybody.
he's wrong about a bunch of shit.
A bunch of shit.
I mean,
he's wrong about a lot.
And
of
I only
shit.
agree because I like the idea of legitimizing caregivers' participation still.
Yeah.
In the commercial system.
Yeah, the problem. Okay, I agree, and I can't tell the number of caregivers that have been in my office and say, "Listen, I want to be in business. I want to do it right," and there hasn't been a path for them. There is a path. This Class A license.
There's a couple of paths.
But when, why, here, who's doing it? Where are the
Because
opportunities?
As
No
a
cities are
caregiver,
up.
I can say to you, I don't want to do it.
I know
so
you-
I think a lot
don't-
of
right, right.
caregivers don't want to do it.
This is the
fine.
point.
I
This
don't
is the
have
point. This is the
anything
point.
to sell into the system.
This is the point. Let me make Deborah. I want to come back to you. The point is that there are Class A licenses for people to transition, but the opportunities are minimal because cities are not opting in, and they're
Right.
certainly not
Oh, that's just it.
creating zoning places for these. Secondly, there are all the other caregivers that don't participate in the economy of marijuana. They merely interact. They don't take the dispensaries. They don't take the grows. They interact
Have
with
their
their 5 patients. They don't. They may still grow in their
Well,
basement.
they're not really a part of this direct discussion, but they are post, because the next thing is they're going to try to, even after the commercial contributions are ended, they're going to try to go after the caregiver system
Yeah,
itself.
but
Listen, from
so
a
we should cut our own balls off in advance.
From
I
a
mean, come
purist
on.
standpoint, the MMA is the caregivers growing in their home for their 5 patients.
Right.
We should not disrupt that. That's the intent of the law.
It
to come
also
up with,
wants
to
to protect
suggest
the
that.
entire caregiver system and everything that it has evolved into, right?
Well, what it's evolved into is a path for people to get into the game of the economy of it, come out of the dark and do that. But the caregiver should not be affected by that. The problem with
Caregiver system, right?
The problem I would
core
suggest
caregiver
with
system.
Paul's analysis here is the suggestion that the caregiving be eliminated. And that to me is too much. The original
He
intent of
doesn't
the law-
understand a lot of stuff, and that's clear, and that's what a
Right.
lot of people have. He
His-
doesn't understand an historical perspective or the details of what these things mean.
Right. And there are listen, so the premise that I suggest is that you have to accept the idea that there are caregivers that exist that don't sell to a 6th patient. So, Ben, I mean, some people may say, I don't know that person, but they do exist. And we could debate how many of them do exist and don't exist, but it's a function of the original intent of the MMA. We may not like it. I mean, if the MMA was intended to be a business of some kind, I think when they created the MMFLA, that ended that theory, because now you had the structure of a business with the MMFLA. It meant that they didn't rely upon the MMA. But that doesn't mean you take away the MMA and all that it original intent stands for. You see, that's my point. My point is you can't. This conversation is about the industry of caregivers. That's not really what the MMA was.
Well,
I mean, we say that.
I don't know if I necessarily.
Well, we say that.
agree
Now, I
with
can
that.
say that now. I can say now.
Wait,
Go ahead.
caregivers have done amazing things over the last 8 years. Caregivers failed to come together to fight for their own rights.
I agree with that.
And, so they're at a disadvantage. What I propose is, if we really want to legalize on another level, we just create another lane. I mean, when it comes to, most consumables, in Michigan, there's the cottage food law. It allows, small producers of, making jams and jellies and, pickling, carrots and everything. They can go and sell a few things, and it's no big deal. So why don't we do that?
That's a different outcome.
Maybe we decriminalize a little bit.
I agree.
And guess what? The people that are, big business, big marijuana, they're going to win no matter what, But there's some people that want something a little bit better, a little bit more special, and I can give it to somebody But wouldn't it be better if we come up with a second lane? That it makes it more attractive.
Roadside stand if somebody wants, man.
More regulated or something.
But that's not what Paul was proposing, I don't think. But what you're saying, Ben, I think a lot of people agree with. There should be, like more of a tomato concept.
Well,
There
people
should be
are doing that, but it's obviously not legal. But Ben's proposing making some type of legal avenue. People do that now. All kinds of people have little crafty things they're making with.
All right, but right,
with
you grow
oils
some
and
tomatoes
things.
in your backyard. You can
Right.
sell a certain amount out the front door. You can
Or
sell them at the
honey or
farmer's
whatever.
market. All right,
Sell
no
them out
one's
the back of
opposed.
your van.
Right, but the state is against that.
It's just
The
cannabis.
Of course,
state is
the state is totally against that.
super regulating this industry.
Fuck them.
Right.
Yeah!
There we go. There we go. That's what we're saying. Fuck that. Fuck that, Michael.
I'm not.
I know
Listen.
you're not.
I am not in favor of the overregulated system, but this is what you get with tax and regulate. It's a reality. There's a line and a lane, and if you're not in that on this side of the line, the lane.
Jamie and Michael
the
are
state,
for that shit, Jim.
I am not.
Ben are
Listen,
against it.
that is so untrue. I just
It's
gave you
totally
my own
true.
spiel
Oh.
of. But
Yeah, Mike, you need us. Come on now.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
only path.
Corporate
The only
raiders
path.
versus
Hold
the
on. This is
grassroots
not.
activists. Yeah.
This has turned into a really strange dynamic of players here. But at the end of the day,
We're just having
at the
fun
end of the
with
day,
it.
I'm saying that in Ben, your proposal of a tomato is not in the it's not available right now. I mean the lane that they're giving the opportunity.
We
is
can
this,
shoot for that, though.
I'm fine with that. I can
grow
get
into
behind that
right.
all day long. But it's less of a it's the least regulated thing you could have, right? Because the whole tomato
And
or
once people
farmers
realize that it's just cannabis,
I disagree,
we can
Mike,
get there.
because what happens when small farmers have no access, it ends up going to out-of-state traffic and it gets in the hands of kids, and someone
that's
goes
not what
to
it-
the
that's-
hospital because they ate too many brownies. If we have a set of standards that says, hey, listen, label it, put where it came from on there, and only sell it to people that are over 21. You don't do more than X amount of sales in a year, otherwise, you don't qualify for the cottage marijuana laws. And that could be a good thing.
I'm fine
And
with the
guess what? And guess what? In a few years, the big guys will be able to produce stuff so big and so cheap that they'll have the economy of scale. And if people want something a little bit better, they can go down the road to their friend George or Martha that produces some great, cannabis, tomatoes, whatever, and they can get both at the same time. Why not? Let's just do it.
But what I meant by regulated is this. If you're selling tomatoes or cherries out of your front at your mailbox or taking them to farmer's market, the state is not intervening in that. You're going from your
There's a
house.
state law. It's called the Michigan Cottage Food Law.
I
You
understand
still have
that,
to meet
but
some kind of standards, right,
the
or be expected
oversight,
to.
the inspection, the methods by which the industry is functioning right now in a regulated fashion, that principle would fall outside of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we would fall outside in a different lane. Why not? Let's just do it.
I'm not against that.
for a
Listen,
fact.
I'm not arguing against it, Ben.
Do that on Michael.
Let's
too.
be clear. I am not arguing against it. I'm saying in the world that we're operating right now, that is a lane that has not been created yet. I'm not opposed to creating it. I like it.
It hasn't been created by the legislature or any other way, but it's been successfully operating for.
It has,
a long
and
time.
that's been the mistake of what has been taking place. The points I want to make is number one, the proposal by Paul suggests moving into the Class A lane that exists now. In doing so, he minimizes the importance and significance of the original MMA and suggests that all people, under any circumstances, want to participate as a 100-plant grower and sell in the state market. I disagree with that premise. Number two is Ben has proposed an idea that a different lane be created, which I like, of a more of a cottage industry, in that caregivers have work within a new type of system, a new lane, and can do all this stuff and don't need to get a Class A license. They don't need to go through the strict scrutiny of the facility that's being grown in, and they let it happen in your backyard or your house.
And
not,
the consumer knows that when
and
they
the consumer
purchase it.
knows that, and it's clearly designated when they take it to a farmer's market or sell it out the front door. That's fine. The premise of what we were talking about was more to criticize the problems of the of Paul's manifesto, but turns out we agree on most of this.
Great.
Yeah.
Jamie, what about listen, we can't. There are people. Can we agree on this? Maybe we disagree on this. There are caregivers that don't want anything to do with this industry.
Yeah, but
they don't want to be cottage.
but
They've
so
got
what?
5 people. okay.
That's
that
good.
can't be
That's
touched.
awesome, but
that
that's
can't be
not
touched.
Yeah, of course.
And at no
that's
reason.
what's coming next.
Well,
That's what's trying to be peeled back next. Is exactly that.
Well, is that what's trying to be peeled back, or are they trying to peel back caregivers selling overages?
Right now, caregivers' participation in commerce.
Okay, but if they're not participating in commerce, does it matter?
Next thing you go.
Okay, so there's going to be people that are going to, try to find the best market. Sometimes the illegal market is very tempting for lots of people. And, I think right now we're looking at, what is going to define the people that they're going to arrest in the future. And, the caregiver system produces some really good medicine. And, I don't see the new market producing really good, artesian medicine, full spectrum cannabis oil for cancer patients. And, so I think we need this other lane that is, more about growing medical marijuana. And the caregivers have done a great job. Let's give them a place where they don't have to, turn it over to, this new market that is fundamentally recreational.
And if people don't show up and use that system, then it won't survive. But people will, because a lot of people like getting their medicine like that. Talking to the person who produced it and all that kind of stuff. It's all part of it for a lot of people. It's been working for a long time, and I agree. I mean, we're not there yet with legitimizing that or clarifying that as being okay, but that is something that's the better direction to go in than what a lot of these new lobbying and manufacturing associations and stuff like that are trying to do, which is to make it a lot more restrictive and create standards that are hard and expensive to achieve, not easier like this would be. So that's the battle that we're going to have.
We lost Ben.
I think we lost Ben.
I've gotten some messages here that the some technical being that full. You seen that? Just some.
Well, no, but I'm.
May just be Gerald Berry's.
It was a good discussion. If we did lose Ben, it was a good discussion up until now.
But listen, I'm a big listen. I didn't want to be misquoted. The MMA, the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association, its core principle to honor the Proposal 1 of 2008 and ensure the caregiver and patient rights. I mean, we've been fighting about that forever. And the idea that we're here in this new frame doesn't mean that we minimize that principle. You know what I mean? And a lot of the economy of marijuana has brought ill will to the listen, the original caregiver maybe should have been involved in all that, but looking back retrospectively, that's what it is, and they can only have 5, and they can't make any money, it's compensation for cost, then let it be that. They still serve a purpose.
That might be an argument at some point when they go to attack the caregiver system. It's going to be to eliminate it and all the different factions and ways that people carry out what they believe is caregiver duties for directly connected or non-directly connected or making a margin for their time or not just for expenses or whatever the different things are. The whole caregiver system is being attacked. So to argue like let's just keep it to this activity is not going to work for some people attacking it.
Jim's insisting that we take a break, so let's stop with that.
It was a good segment, but let's
move on. Does Tommy say so?
Tommy wanted to take a break like 20 minutes ago when we were supposed to take a break.
Oh, that's good.
Let's thank our guest, Ben Horner. He's not on anymore. Let's thank him for calling
text him
in.
and let him know that that went well.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
He lines up. We're going to take a big break here.
Big break.
450, episode 455.
Yeah.
Crisis on the Infinite Earth.
Maybe we'll be right back. We'll see.
Yeah.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
What's up, y'all? Grind Time with Darren McCarty. This is him, Darren McCarty, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, talking about jokes. Yes, Darren McCarty Slapstick Comedy Tour. I'm bringing a comic. Where will it be? March 14th, Tawas, Michigan. Yes, Tawas Resort and Spa. We'll be there, 7 p.m. And I'm bringing the big fella, Cam Rowe. All 6'9", size 21 shoe of them. Come on down. Tawas Resort and Spa in Tawas, Michigan, 7 p.m. March 14th. You better be there. You might hear some hockey stories too, but you never know. All right, that's D-Mac. I'm out.
Whoops! Did state lawmakers accidentally legalize marijuana in Ohio? Some top law enforcement officers say yes. Columbus City Attorney says the decision is based on complications after the state legalized hemp. On July 30th, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine signed Senate Bill 57 into law. It legalizes hemp in Ohio and changes the definition of marijuana to exclude hemp based on the amount of THC. Now we have to be able to distinguish the difference between hemp and marijuana, said Vice President of the Ohio Fraternal Order of Police. That is not possible for a human being to do. That has to be done through crime analysis. The executive director of the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association agrees. This bill de facto legalizes marijuana in Ohio, at least for the time being, said Louis Tobin. We raised this concern with legislators during debate of the bill. It's disappointing those concerns were rejected. Oops. Anybody want to go to Cedar Point?
I'm Mr. Bill Withers. Every time I YouTube this, it's so cool because he's wearing a Pine Knot t-shirt. So, you gotta love him. They keep trying to tell me that all you want to do is use me. Oh, my answer, yeah, that all of them use me stuff. Yeah, I'm spilling the news, like this is good. Oh, just keep on using me until you use me alone. Hey, until you use me alone. Now listen, now my brother, you know he sit me right down and he talks to me. He told me that I ought to not let you just walk on me. And I'm sure he meant well, yeah, because when our talk was through, I said, brother, wish that you were in my shoes. Oh, you just keep on using me until you use me up. Until you use me up. Come on, give me some love on that.
Here's Michael Komorn with more Planet Green Trees.
Alrighty, we're back. Thanks for staying with us.
Yeah.
Planet Green Trees, episode number 455. The Infinite Earths, something like that. All right, we're ready to get back into it here. Jamie Lowell is returning to the area.
Yeah, the break was very short.
It was.
very short.
What's the explanation for that, one may ask?
It's a 10-minute break.
Was it?
It was 10 minutes, exactly.
Take 10.
Yeah.
Never got a chance to smoke.
Well, can't help you there, Jamie.
Couldn't hear you.
I didn't
Cut
either.
us off with
Jamie,
the
sit down.
I'm totally unprepared for this next segment. I feel
No,
Prepared or
we're
unprepared?
prepared.
What's the next segment?
We even have a meme.
Which segment is
It's
it?
cute.
more cowbell. Ding, ding,
Oh,
ding,
okay.
ding,
Corona,
ding,
the
ding.
Corona thing?
We're back to the
There's
corona
never,
again.
ever
Can we talk
enough
about the...
cowbell.
wait. Before we get to...
I'll send you one that's pretty funny.
We had the brief discussion as I was asking for some commentary on whether or not a 21-year-old or someone under the age of 21 could be charged with the any presence of controlled substances. Well, let's go around the room. We'll start with Jamie. What do you say?
Jamie Lowell.
I can't
Well, good.
claim to know. 'Cause I think
Oh, shit. I was going to repeat what Jamie said. I was like, cool. It'll be like 5 people before it gets to me. I'll just repeat what Jamie said.
It's a good idea.
I know.
Okay, and that means that Jamie is... You're out
Well,
now?
it's not. The intention is for them not to be in any kind of serious, extra serious trouble just for being under 21.
That was the
but,
intent, yeah.
But how it gets played out is always when it's out live and it's under scrutiny and decision makers can look at it
When
and
cops
determine things.
rewrite the laws.
And then so I don't know exactly how it ends up.
Was anyone paying attention when I was trying to read and point out that there's certain sentences
No.
that say what you can't do? And as they say what you can't do, one of them is you can't drive while impaired. Right. But in that sentence, they don't mention
I think it says intoxicated.
It doesn't say that.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Well, pull it up. Let's see.
It says under the influence of marijuana. That's what it says. But the point that I'm making...
Under the influence, that's right. It's under the influence, Tommy.
So the point that I'm making is that...
So then that
Jamie,
has to be
Jamie,
defined
look
by
at the
somebody,
statute
right?
as I'm showing here. See, it says this act doesn't authorize... Here, I've
That's
highlighted the
meant
number...
to say like there's just no change. There's no change. Like we're not saying that just because we're legalizing this that you're now authorized to be able to drive under the influence on it.
No, it's not. It's saying the opposite. It's saying this is all that you can't do. They don't say you can't have any presence. And this law trumps, no pun intended, or overrides the crime that I pointed out here, which is operating with the presence of controlled substance.
No, I agree with you. Okay,
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And now,
okay.
so if this statute that I'm reading here, that operating is what's prohibited if you're under the influence, then clearly the having any presence without being influenced.
You just have to demonstrate that somebody's under the influence. Just because it's in their system does not mean they're
Correct.
under the
Now,
influence.
as we look at the statute, and I pose the question, does it include or not include people under the age of 21? We see that in this section, this sentence I'm speaking, which is 4(1)(a), right? See, that's a 4, section 4(1)(a). No mention of age. It's not even in there. They don't have a limitation or an expansion to or from the age of 21.
So they're applying it to everybody. They would apply it to a 6-year-old.
So
when
in
you
the
look at
driving situation, even if somebody's under 21, just because it's in their system doesn't mean that they are proving that they were driving.
Why would I
under
say
the
that?
influence.
When we look at B, and it refers to what the Act does not authorize B, transfer of marijuana or marijuana access to a person under the age of, as I highlighted, 21, right?
But
It
those,
says it there
those are
because
separate issues, though.
they're separate issues, but they didn't need to say and preclude and specify the issue that's just separate by stating someone's age.
And they didn't state it in the previous.
Correct. And when
Okay.
they want to, they will. And when they want it the age to
That's
be a
your
factor,
interpretation, or is
that
that-
is
is
the way
that the-
statutes
that's
are
standard
interpreted.
law? That's how it's-
I'm
it's
saying to you,
interpreted.
whether or
Okay.
not
Okay.
these Federalists...
You're the lawyer. I believe you.
Whether or not the Federalists will eat their own philosophy or not is another story when we see them. But because the other argument would be, counsel, are you trying to tell me you want us to ignore the fact that the law clearly states this law is intended to legalize marijuana for adults over the age of 21? That's what the law says. We're not including behavior of people under the age of 21. That's not allowed here. But I'm saying, but that would be the counter argument, right? No one contemplates. You're not suggesting people under age 21 should be smoking marijuana and no, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. But what I'm saying to you is that this law is intended to, at a minimum, legalize marijuana for adults over the age of 21. That doesn't mean we're going to punish those not 21 greater or more severely, especially when in the specific section we're talking about, it doesn't reference an age limitation, whereas in every other section, Jamie, see how I've highlighted in section B?
When they wanted to reference it for a particular reason, they put it in. When it wasn't important to have an age, they didn't. It must have been intentional. Because
That's
when it
what
was
Michael's saying,
necessary,
it's intentional. They intentionally don't put it in.
There's. Let me just throw out some general language when you read it. When the because I've read a lot of cases of how the Court of Appeals has decided how to interpret the MMA. You guys feeling me on this? In every case of first impression, they're going to say they're going to cite something that guides them, and there's this language of you must give each word equal meaning and not ignore any words. If it's in there, as judges, we're supposed to read them and give meaning to each of the words. We don't skip over words, and we don't add words. And if the legislature intended it to be in there, they put it in there. And by virtue of it being in some places and it not being in other places means that when they want to put it in there and have an age limitation, they will. Because you can see they do it.
That's
and
right.
the lack of it means that they didn't intend to put a limitation on it. This is statutory interpretation because the judges don't write the laws. They interpret it. They have to have a philosophy of how to do this. You know what I mean? And that's why the Federalist Society, Schuyler, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, the real reason is because they wanted to repeal Roe v. Wade.
Schuyler.
But putting that aside, their theory is that they got sick of activist judges that were reading into statutes words and interpretations that were not in existence. It's really to say the law doesn't say that. The law doesn't allow for that. It doesn't specifically permit that. It's limited for certain classes. I mean, that's always been the argument. But Schuyler, by the way, and I'll speak for him because he's, I don't want to say chicken, but he doesn't show up anymore.
There he is.
There he is. Right there. That is a handsome young lawyer there. Look at how bright and shiny he is.
Yeah.
The associate.
That was Schuyler in his youth.
Until the broken system also destroyed his spirit.
Yeah, exactly. Fast forward about 5 years.
It
Let's
killed
take
his
a
soul.
picture
It
now.
did.
Shoot.
I think
listen,
the broken Federalists would say that may be true, Komorn, but there's no way those judges, whatever you want to call them, are going to permit 21-year-old behavior when they cannot, and create some more tax dollar or revenue for the courts to pay for their employees and their jails and prisons and police cars and the rent on the building that they're.
So if somebody would logically kind of parallel, without any other reference, how like a minor possession of alcohol or other adult products, maybe tobacco or something like that, would be handled. Would there be some kind of a logical?
Well, there is a statute that if you have any presence of alcohol in your system and you're driving, it's a crime. It's a drunk driving crime. It's not a minor possession. Having it in your system is one thing. Being behind the wheel is punished like an adult.
But there's a per se limit still. I think it's 0.02, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe.
There's no per se limits with marijuana.
But mouthwash is a 0.02. You know what I mean? Bad
point.
breath could be a
That's my
0.02.
These kids should not be going to jail just because there's presence. That's
No,
the most
listen.
ridiculous
I
thing
know
I've
that.
ever heard.
And listen, some other arguments that would support Jim's point here is that we already know that the Michigan State Police's own report on this particular topic of whether or not there should be a per se limit or not was that there shouldn't be because the amount in one system does not, and the reported number on the lab report of the amount of nanograms of THC in no way impacts or can be indicative of the person's impairment one way or the other.
Can't be correlated.
No correlation. So the idea that any presence could equate to dangerous driving is really the more scientific argument.
They've already said it can't. They've already said it.
Right. There's no per se number, but this is any presence of a minor. So why is that a crime? Is it because they're a minor, we want to punish them?
Right.
Or is it because there's a legitimate traffic safety concern? See, that would seem to be the strongest argument to punish here. But when you look at what the data says, and even what the state police are saying, and they don't distinguish between 80-year-olds and 19-year-olds,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
It is, whatever the number is, it is not correlative of impaired driving.
Right.
So the concept of punishing and having this on the books for whomever it may be is contrary to the science being purported by the Michigan State Police. Joel, are you following me?
Yes.
Because there's going to be questions later. I feel like you're texting with...
I'm ready for the quiz.
Well, all right.
I don't have a microphone.
Are you learning tonight? Because sometimes we walk away
Yes,
with
you
some...
do. Don't even use that as an excuse right there.
Oh, darn.
Why don't
Okay,
you
hold
just
on.
I can hear you.
over,
Let me
buddy?
use my
Look at
rubber
that.
glove.
Well, you can't
You're not,
do
it's not
that
your
because
it's not your
we
time
gotta
yet. I just want to
secure-
make sure you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
All right, so somebody debate me on this, please.
No one's going to disagree with you.
Yeah, what are we disagreeing on?
Get Ben Horner, see if he'll
No, he
No,
won't.
Ben's
But
done.
you know what we can do?
We
is
could have
can
a
move on
segment
to
in
topic
harassment
one.
every
Let's
week.
go on to
though.
topic one.
Topic one. You asked coronavirus.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Travel
We just
ban
said,
hits
Jamie's, wait, just so that one
European.
question that was asked by our favorite listener, Derek Coleman.
Oh, that was an hour ago.
Well, we
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
answered.
yeah.
Did we
Yeah, I
confirm
don't even know if
that?
he's still there.
We did.
Well,
Sorry,
probably-
Derek.
I wish I could. Wish I could
Well.
connect here.
All right, go ahead. Say what you.
All right. Okay.
What was his question? Do you remember?
No.
I don't either. It was something
was
about.
talking about
Oh,
how
yeah.
corona-
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, he wanted to know if it's...
Yeah.
Cannabis and corona.
I think we covered
All right,
it.
so what do we know about coronavirus? Who wants to talk about this? Jamie and Jim have different philosophies, I think. Jamie seems to think that because of the pandemic, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to.
I'll tell you if you are incorrect so far.
Pandemic.
So far,
is-
yes, that's a good reason to be
Pandemic
concerned.
bad. It's going to spread
Yeah.
fast. A lot of people are going to be sick, and it's going to
Yes.
be really, really bad for everybody.
Really bad.
Yes.
You know what? Do we pick sides now, or do or
No, we're gonna
Well,
frame
tell
the
me what
issues.
you think. What you think Jim is going to say, and then I'll decide which
Jim
side
has a
I'm gonna-
different statistical
Go
analysis.
ahead and tell
Jamie
me.
seems to think that compared to the flu, this is much worse.
Well, I don't
the number
think that.
of people
I
that are
don't
going to be
think that.
affected by.
I get that information from those who are qualified and who are looking
Yes,
at the
it's
situation and
science.
reporting on what they
Science,
are
Michael.
finding.
I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with it. Whatever your position that you're standing on, it may not be yours from your own research, but what
I
you've
wouldn't
listened
pretend
to,
to have any knowledge.
what
of,
you've
you know,
listened
the
to and
subject.
read and taken in, whatever fake news that may be. Just kidding. Whatever outlet you're.
We can then research the source if that.
Well,
becomes an
it
issue,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. I'm saying we're all getting our information from wherever it may be. None of us are scientists. It doesn't matter.
I will
It doesn't
reveal
matter. It
when
doesn't
the time
matter.
is right.
I'm just saying that you believe that this coronavirus is much more serious than serious, and more serious than the influenza.
I believe that we should be
doing what?
Treating it as if it is something
It's a
extremely
serious-
more serious than regular influenza. I hope.
What would people be
I would
doing
hope
right
that
now?
it's not true. This reminds me. This kind of akin to this discussion. Ultimately, is kind of like those who want to deny that climate change is real, and not necessarily take the advice of the many scientists around the world whose job it is to specifically look into this and who can recreate
Sorry,
tests
Jim. I'm taking Jamie's
and
side. I don't
confirm,
even have to hear yours. I'm taking
what the
his side.
conclusions are to the point where it actually, that's a scientific theory that some people are saying, is possibly not true. In this case, we're just beginning to learn about it. Really hope, just like I hope climate change isn't really as bad as the scientists say it is. Hope that this isn't really as bad as what the professionals looking at the issue around the world say it is.
Well,
but that's
I
where we
agree
are
with
right
Michael,
now.
I totally agree with him. I can't
and
believe
a
you don't
pandemic
agree
doesn't
with
get established or put into motion and all these things closed
I
down.
can tell by your.
If there's not concern by those who have, let's hope that they're all wrong.
So
But,
here's my question, Jamie. Assuming,
but I have to take them seriously.
All right. So
I agree with Jamie.
you're, and I'm not saying these are your original thoughts, but you believe, at this juncture, from what you know, that when they say pandemic, it's not just that this new virus is going to spread to a lot of people, but the impact on them, and you mean deaths, is going to be.
No, it's going to spread to a lot of people, and even people who don't die, there'll be enough people who are sick that is a tremendous strain on everything, and it will result in a lot of deaths as well, which of course is horrible, and way more than what a regular flu. I mean, this is according to what the experts are saying.
But
It's not-
the
it's not-
data-
it's not-
the data-
Okay, stop. So that's the point I'm trying to make.
So it's spreading around the world a lot and getting a lot of
Disagree. What
sickness,
opinion
and those
only,
numbers could be into the millions. In fact, the Trump's own dude,
gonna say,
when asked, what's the deal with this? He's like, well, I have to know what the response is as part of the formulation. If we don't respond, which we have not. I mean, finally there were some travel restrictions and I guess some other minor stuff
It's
lately.
too late. If-
But we didn't jump on it. We didn't do stuff
No.
that some other countries were doing and that kind of stuff. So part of the equation is how well we respond. The numbers get bigger for how bad this could get, and whether or not people die, it causes a huge strain on a lot of different things.
Yeah, the economy is, listen, just for that point, the impact, and I want to separate the impact I'm going to talk about in actual health, demise of individuals. So I see it as there's the health of the economy and those industries that are going to be affected by people not going because of the fear of catching it. Public places, we know the NBA has been canceled. College basketball, the NCAA is going to go on.
Hey, we didn't say it yet, but Hash Bash and Monroe Street Fair.
They canceled all schools in
All
Ohio.
schools, so, right.
In Ohio.
Washtenaw County and Detroit
A
now
bunch
for
of
sure.
school
There's probably
districts
more
here
by
in
now
Michigan,
too.
too.
So you've got all these industries
The
that
Ag and Food Summit is closed next week.
people go.
The
You're funny,
Stones
Joe.
are going to
Joe.
be canceled, Michael. The number one thing.
I understand schools will be closed. Okay, but the question is this, because we're really
Courts
asking
that
the
have
question.
juries will
Courts, you're right. They finally got around to the idea that some of the jury trials should recommended by the Supreme Court that they not commence and that they use the priority system of those in jail, get first priority and adjourn others, and not have them if not necessary. But
Tell that to Bowtie Bowman.
right, we did. That was one. All right, but listen, let's talk about this right here. So, because the measure by which we're using here, because I think nobody really knows what's going on. Is your shoe dirty? Why you keep touching with your foot? Just kidding. The measurement here is.
What's going on over there?
The flu. He was putting his foot. Was
Kind of
just
touched my thigh, so I was just reciprocating it a little bit with a little foot play, and then he got upset
You and
publicly.
Jim are corona
No,
deniers.
I just want to hear the opposite view.
I want to be clear. I'm not denying anything. What I'm saying
Then
is
stop.
that
Let me just
the
frame this. Stop.
data,
Listen,
the
stop,
data
stop.
is incomplete.
Okay.
Incomplete.
We
This
need
is the
more
question.
research.
But we're
The
not
measure.
collecting data.
The
There are
measure.
some things that are known, though. And
The measure
those
that I'm
things are-
suggesting is the flu. The flu would be the measurement of the number of people that die. We live with that. It happens all the time. They get you get your flu vaccine. Some people get sick. Some elderly people get sick and die. Some medium-aged people get sick and have terrible responses, and they're out for a few weeks. Some people get it. They go to work. They pass it to everyone else. They continue on. There's all that going on every single day. My kids go to school. Other kids are sick. They get a cold. They come home. They pass it on to everybody else. I pass it on to everyone in here. Okay? This is a reality that we live in. The question is, under those circumstances, this is what we deal with. Our immune systems are prone to fight it off. Maybe worse next year. Sickness a little more, a couple days, but our body responds. Those that immune systems are
What about
challenged.
all the sick people in Italy lining? They have tents
Hold on,
in the
stop.
parking
I want
lots
to
of
say
the
it's
hospital.
pretty obvious that you're convincing Joel.
Yeah.
What I'm saying here is this. What I'm saying here is this.
I'm really just
I'm
talking
talking
about
about the
this.
flu.
I know,
So
but
the
they've got-
question that we're predicting, nobody knows. It hasn't happened yet. It might, and that's what we want to describe. That Jamie's suggesting that the data that he knows is going to be much worse than that. What we know to be the flu impact on our human lives.
What's the most credible information available?
Are there flu photos coming out of Italy from past flu whatever epidemics of people being treated in tents in the parking lot in the
This is
hospitals because the
different.
hospitals
They're
are
just-
packed?
the numbers
This is
are
different.
What are they?
It's
What are they?
different.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
They're overflowing. They're
Okay,
not
but
ready.
what are the
they
symptoms?
said that they
what are the
have
symptoms?
Oh my.
What are the symptoms that we're talking about?
Well, it starts with a sore throat,
Respiratory,
basically.
Okay.
Starts with
Right,
a sore
so
throat.
here you go.
So just
Fever.
because it mimics the flu doesn't mean it's not worse than because it is worse than the flu. And they
Why
said
is
we
it
have
worse than the flu? I'm just no.
It's easier
the
to
mortality rate is
transfer
higher.
and easier
I've
to
seen
catch.
the mortality
Jim, what are the
rate is
statistics
higher.
on mortality?
Well, the statistics differ depending on the data set. Again, it's incomplete. But right now,
Probably
it's running
depends
anywhere
on where
from
you are in the world,
2%
too.
up to, I've seen it as high as 20%.
That's pretty damn high.
Well, but
Yeah, which
but-
is
but
which
the
isn't
problem.
the only factor in issues.
Well, what about the
that could be
nursing home
caused.
where it's like 100%?
Right. But the problem
So-
with all of those numbers is that I can tell you right now that people are going to get treated for symptoms that align with coronavirus in Michigan right now, at this very minute. And what's happening is they're going into these facilities, and because of the limited number of the coronavirus test kits and the fact that the DHHS has to authorize
That's
the
correct.
facility to perform the test, they're not getting tested.
He's
They're
right.
telling people to go home.
home.
Yep.
Yeah,
go
go
home.
home and
once the fever
self-treat.
clears, 24 hours after that, you're good to go. And the fact that that's happening over and over and over again means that people aren't being counted. And that, in my mind, is what is dangerous, is this incomplete data set. And I don't know how we fix that problem. But I absolutely agree that we should be incredibly precise about our response in trying to contain this thing. What I don't agree with is that everybody should be losing their damn minds.
Well, there has to be a balance of some kind. I don't agree with that.
Panic is not going to solve this problem. And the fact that there are these skewed numbers being published that are freaking people out to no end is not helping the situation. I absolutely agree it's serious, and that it should be treated seriously until we have the
here's my
entire
question.
data
If
set.
people are going in and they're sending them home, and this is the medical... Now, they're doing so either because of policy, they're doing so because of... they don't have the resources, or they're doing so because the proper medical treatment is to go home and treat yourself because you don't have a respiratory symptom that would have you be admitted into the hospital, right?
Right. It's not
you have a
bad enough.
fever.
Right.
You have it. You may have the symptoms. It lays dormant for 14 days. It may not show itself for 14 days. You may, be running
It
through.
depends on your age too and your physical condition.
So this is my point. This is my only point that I'm trying to make. It's not that it's not serious or not, but the question is that it clearly has an impact above and beyond the normal flu regarding people with respiratory diseases or predisposed for
People
respiratory
over
diseases.
60.
People over a certain age. People that are going to have compromised immune systems. They're all but they would. Many of those would be affected by the flu in the same way. They're vulnerable medically, right?
Absolutely.
But I see the problem, which is equally as significant, because if certain groups of individuals are exposed to it and it impacts them in a death toll greater than the rest of the population, it's not good, right? That's terrible. And I see the problem as being that there's not enough space in hospitals because hospitals at 90% capacity across
Well, they
the
said
country.
they have 3 beds for every 1,000
Right.
people.
Or the respiration
So-
equipment.
And the respiration
and the
equipment. So those that need the treatment, it's not available.
Right.
You can send someone home with the flu
Yeah, and they can
give them a
self-treat.
shot or
Of
give them some
course.
medicine.
You
We
go
don't
home with
have
some
that yet.
Motrin and eat some soup and
therein
lay in
is the
bed for 3
problem.
days.
Therein is the I mean, imagine 100 years ago when someone had the
yeah,
flu,
of course.
they died.
Of course.
Right? I mean, and this is, I mean, I'm conceding that any new epidemic has the potential in its spread to affect and take
Sometimes
out
you're better off at home anyway, man. The hospital can kill you anyway. There's all kinds of creepy crawlies.
That
in
is
there.
true. That is true.
You know, if you're
So
already
let's-
sick.
What do we know from the CDC? Let's talk about that. I've got some common human coronavirus. It includes different types: 229E, NL63, for those scientists that are keeping track at home, OC43, HKU1. I think they got some Colorado monkey sky here and some wild dragon. Okay.
There you go.
But the information provided here applies to the common human coronavirus and should not be confused with corona disease 2019, previously referred to as 219 novel coronavirus. Symptoms of common human coronavirus: runny nose, sore throat, headache, fever, cough, general feeling of
Please
being
give an example
unwell.
of each one of those, if you don't mind.
And
so
trouble
people know
breathing.
exactly what we're talking about.
That's not here yet. So it says runny nose, headache, cough. Human coronavirus can sometimes cause lower respiratory tract illness such as pneumonia or bronchitis. This is more common in people with cardiopulmonary disease, people with weakened immune systems, infants, and older adults. So all of those people, by the way, will stay away from and should stay away from going into areas that there's known
Should I leave
sicknesses.
now?
No, what I'm saying is, does a elder, like if your kid's sick, do you take them to the, to visit someone in the hospital? No, that's not the right thing to do, right? Or vice versa. Joe, is that right? Is that proper?
Well, I've got this. We've been receiving all of these drips and drabs. Maybe that's
Don't
the
start
wrong
reading
word.
stuff I'm reading. Don't start reading off your own thing.
Well, here, no. This is the
Nobody
the
else
thing
is
that
allowed
takes you
notes
out
but
is
Michael.
fibrosis.
No foot play and no reading anything else.
The thing that takes you out is fibrosis. When you end up having the disease to the point that your lungs become unable to breathe, and there's this concept that if
He's
you
in
can
a
hold,
mask. I
That
can't
would
take
make
him
it.
serious.
That would make
I
it
can't take him
difficult.
serious.
I'm just
No, but-
trying to.
But that's what
survive.
we're saying. It's hard to breathe. That's what everybody who's caught it.
If
Tom
you can
Hanks
hold,
has
if you
it,
if
so
you
know
take
it's
a
real.
deep breath in the morning and can hold your breath for more than 10 seconds, and you don't feel pain, and you don't wheeze, and you don't cough, you're in pretty good shape. You know, that's the problem is if
You're
you
at least
get,
not in immediate bad shape.
well,
We're all trying
if
it
you've
right
got
now.
fever
still have
and
time
you
to kill it.
cannot do that, then you're in bad shape.
Right.
You're in bad shape.
There are certain people that are predisposed to it, which I just mentioned
Absolutely.
here. Transmission of common human coronavirus. Sitting next to someone in a flannel will definitely get you. Just kidding.
Anything with plaids.
Common human
Anything with
coronavirus
Jamie and Amanda are the
usually
typhoid
spread
Marys.
from an infected person to others through the air by coughing and sneezing, close personal contact like touching or shaking hands, touching an object or surface with the virus on it, then touching your mouth, nose, or eyes before washing your hands. In the United States, people usually get infected with common human coronavirus in the fall and winter, but you can get infected at any time of the year. Young children are most likely to get infected, but people can have multiple infections
That's
in their lifetime.
common, though. Is that the one that we're talking about? Because this one seems to be a special one, not a common
Common
one.
human coronavirus. Instead of coronavirus.
Not the 19 or whatever.
All right, we'll go back to 19.
Yeah.
How come it's every presidential election? There's always
This is a true piece of information.
Well, this is. Are you saying this is Trump's karma?
It's true, but just because that happened does not take away any of the facts that we're discovering on this.
Here you go.
It's a
Here you
presidential
go.
thing?
What is the disease? According to 2019, the respiratory illness that can be spread from person to person. The virus that causes this is novel coronavirus that was first identified during an investigation into outbreak in Wuhan, China.
This is the one we're talking about.
This is the wet market.
This is
Can
the
people
one.
in the U.S. get it?
He's trying to blend in
I
regular
know. You
flus
see,
and shit
he
like
tried.
that with
He
this
tried to
thing.
water down our.
He's being a lawyer here. He's trying to defend. He's trying to defend the coronavirus.
I'm not. But if you guys are interested in some bat feet, I have some over here. You guys like bat feet?
from China meat market.
That's that's the one. See, this is Michael's favorite place is the meat market in
right, because I eat a lot of meat.
China,
Right, exactly. Can you
There's
imagine
protein around there, so they kind of will try just about anything that's.
Yes, they say, says the CDC. It is spreading from person to person in parts of the United States. Risk of infection with this virus higher for people who are close contact with someone known to have it. For example, healthcare workers, household members. Other people at high risk for infection are those who live in or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of it. Learn more here. Have there been cases in the U.S.? Yes, we know that. The United States was first reported in January 21st, 2020. The current count as of whatever this date is, I can't see here, but United States is available at the webpage. Okay.
Yeah, because
it's changing daily.
Let's
look it up. Look it up.
Michigan's up to 3.
What is, Joe? You got a number for me, the CDC?
No, but I have another thing here. That,
No, just tell me what the numbers. Look it up. You're on your phone with your.
You trying to read something else?
Well, it's just just what a Japanese.
You trying to put on a mask
I
with
read
gloves
that.
and read something else?
How does it spread? Oh, here you go. Here's some new news. It spread and emerged from an animal source, but is now spreading from person to person. The virus is thought to spread mainly between people who are in close contact with one another 6 feet through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. It may also be possible that a person gets it by touching a surface or object that has virus on it and then touching their own mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes. But this is not thought to be the main way.
Don't touch that and then touch your.
Not thought to be the main way the virus spreads. Learn what is known here. What are the symptoms? Fever, cough, shortness of breath.
See, shortness of breath. You were reading the wrong damn virus. You know, shortness of breath. Didn't we
Listen,
say shortness of breath?
I like to lay a little
Joel
foundation.
and I said shortness of breath.
Of pneumonia.
What are the
lay the foundation before the mutation?
what are the severe complications? Listen, do you see how much paper? Do you see how much research I did to get ready for this?
Well, okay.
I picked up the wrong thing.
Continue.
No one's doing any work here.
How many
I'm
trees
doing
had to
all
die?
the work and getting yelled at.
But I saved you.
Katie, help me. Katie.
Things you should
I
know
saved
from
you
a
from going
Japanese
on for an
doctor.
hour about the wrong virus, okay?
You were. You
I
did,
did, I
and I
did. I'm the
appreciate
only
you,
one
and
that
I
noticed you
cannot
were talking
function in
about
the
the wrong
world
one.
without you. And
I
that's
know.
why-
This is what I keep
Preventative.
trying to tell
Everyone
you.
should be assured that their mouth and throat are moist and never dry.
Oh, well, that's not
Okay.
a problem.
Joel's offering to spit in your mouth if you'd like
No,
to.
no. You should drink water.
He didn't say how he's going to lubricate.
That way you,
As a matter of course, Joel, hydrating oneself is a good thing to do regularly.
Absolutely.
Many illnesses stem from
DNA
people not
spray.
being hydrated.
Absolutely.
Okay. So as a matter of principle, you should drink probably.
You know, when Michael gets the coronavirus, I want us to poo-poo it down to.
God
oh,
forbid.
Michael, that's nothing.
I am
okay?
not poo-pooing it.
I over here in a bubble, you know.
I just told you that all the elderly have
Medical
the possibility
quarantine
of dying
I'm,
in a great
I'm in
number.
that category.
Lawyer in a bubble.
Well, maybe
Dude,
that's
we're gonna
Trump's
die.
health plan.
We're gonna be the 20% that.
Deb, Deb, your lungs are stronger than anybody's.
I
Okay.
doubt that.
There's probably truth
I
in
doubt that.
You have strong lungs.
There's a
I don't
Netflix
know.
series here waiting to
Yes, you
happen.
do.
A lot of exercise in the lungs.
Lawyer in a bubble.
I don't
Lawyer
know.
in the bubble.
Take it easy, buddy. Come on.
That would be all.
What are the severe complications?
Celebrity bubble lawyer.
Can we? Don't start with that. Get that out of here. We're in the middle of
It is
reading
kinda
from the
time.
sheet.
This is our health concern.
What
This is our health watch.
Yeah, we're in a health watch right now.
Come
What
on
are the severe
along, health
complications of
watch.
this virus? Some patients have pneumonia in both lungs, multi-organ failure, and in some cases death. Some cases. How can I help protect myself? People can protect themselves from respiratory illness with everyday preventive actions. Avoid close contact. If people are sick, avoid touching your eyes. Wash hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands again. Use soap.
And then
Use
wash your hands.
sanitizer that with 60% alcohol. Drink a
Pray.
lot of alcohol.
Pray.
If you are sick, to keep from spreading the illness to others, you should stay at home when you're sick. Cover your cough or sneeze with tissue, then throw the tissue in the trash.
That's good advice.
Use a handkerchief.
As
and put it
opposed
right
to
back
what
in
you
your
should
pocket.
do if you're not infected, which is not throw your tissue out and not put it in the trash.
you let them
This
mount
is
up.
kind of insulting. I'm
Yes.
glad that I'm reading this. It's insulting to the common decency of
Yeah, you would do. I mean, you would do these
reasonableness.
things anyway. What are you going to
Clean and disinfect frequently.
Touch
Touch on
you, just you know.
What should I do if I recently traveled from an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19?
Like
They're
the
not
spread?
talking about
yeah,
that
nobody
kind of
better come
spread.
to our spread.
If you have traveled from an infected area,
We do
there
have
may
the
be
best
restrictions on your movement for up to 2 weeks. If you develop symptoms during this period, fever, cough, trouble breathing, seek medical advice. They'll tell you to go home.
Listen, my trimmer.
about 4 days
you know, my
usually.
trimmer Harry is
They'll tell you
trapped
to
in
go
Mexico. He
home.
called me today. He's trapped in Mexico.
People, by the way, Spanibus was canceled. People flew
Yeah.
out there to Spain and
He can't get
to
home.
find out the Spanibus was canceled.
Well, he's got a flight out on Monday, but he's afraid that they might cancel that flight, and he can't get on anything else. And he was like panicking. Yeah.
The healthcare system is good down there, I understand. He should be in good shape.
That's what he said, but
Important
you don't
joke,
want to
you
be
say?
sick in a foreign country. You really don't.
I don't think you want to be sick in Florida.
Listen, I have a
That's
friend who
true.
lives in
That's
Mexico
true.
City. They come to the States if they get sick. They don't get treatment there.
Where?
They come to the States. They go to L.A.
If you seek medical advice right now, though, they will send you home. I think the Italy example.
Oh, I'm not
doesn't-
talking about. No, I'm talking about just.
I
in
know that,
general sick.
but you mentioned the Italy example before, which they had.
Yeah, I was watching it today on the news.
I
and
know
there
that. Are people?
the people are like piling up. And
Are they
look-
dying?
no, but they look very ill. So the system still has to treat a lot of these people. They are ready for the hospital. They're not at home treatable. They've been treated at home and got progressively worse. Some people get very sick.
There were people dying. They're dying over
Yeah, people are dying in Italy too.
Oh,
But they
got
weren't
I think
prepared.
it's 500. Are they?
Yeah, they had like the chief,
Out of
whatever,
how many,
whatever
out
the
of how
title
many
is.
that have it? I'm just curious. What's the rate? Is it greater than the influenza?
Yeah, they said it was at a greater rate.
It's causing a bunch of deaths
Yeah.
and spreading all over
Yeah.
the world quickly.
Yeah, and they're not
Yeah.
prepared to handle it like that.
Have you noticed Trump on any of his latest things? His hands do not come from his. He's like this when he's talking or.
Yeah, because he told everybody he hasn't touched his face in weeks,
does.
which you know is bullshit. He said, "I don't touch my
He's
face."
been in contact with people with confirmed cases.
Well-
Well, that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Harry
He's had-
volunteered
he's
to come
possibly had
back
butt
from
sex with one
Mexico
of them.
and go and like
Yeah.
rub himself all over Trump or something
How much
when he gets back.
What's the incubation period? 14 days, you said?
It could be longer. I don't. You know, it's
I'm
the
not sure.
jury's out on all of this.
Does anybody know if it's faster if there's Santorum involved?
Off the plane wherever he was going, turned around and bought another ticket to get back here immediately.
Here you go.
No,
Is there
we-
a vaccine? There's currently no vaccine. Is there a treatment? There's no specific antiviral treatment.
Well, most of the people, half
Possibly
the people,
cannabis, though, to answer
half of the
Derek
people won't
Coleman's,
take a vaccine
question.
anyway, even if they develop it, Michael. You know that. Half the people will refuse a vaccine. We know that.
This quickly? That's possible. That's
I
for
think
sure.
they will. I think half the people will say, "I don't trust that
Yeah, people
vaccine
just don't
from
want
the
them at all,
government. I
period.
don't want
Some
a
people
vaccine."
want to see it, like,
Yeah.
in action
If I
first
may,
before they...
if I may,
Exactly.
can I
Let me
read-
see on
can
my
I-
neighbor for a
There's
couple
more
years,
to
and
read.
then I'll get one.
Before we take a break, he's got some things.
This
got
is
some
the
facts.
this is the coronavirus
The facts.
CDC I want to share the facts about
Only the facts,
COVID-19.
the science.
The facts.
Fact
Very
one,
well presented here. Very
disease
fun.
can make anyone sick regardless of their race or ethnicity. Age is
I
not,
don't believe it.
People of Asian descent, including Chinese Americans, are not more likely to get it than other Americans. Help stop fear by letting people know that being of Asian descent does not increase the chance of getting it.
Do people people can't really think that?
Fact one.
Some people think Chinese food has it.
Come on.
Ooh,
I'm not
Chinese
kidding.
food.
That was
So-
reported on
Those folks that
Can you
after
get-
the
Some
interview.
people think that all our
Americans.
goods are being imported
I
from
know.
China.
Brilliant Americans.
Some
okay.
people are at increased risk of getting COVID. Fact.
Okay.
Who?
People who've been in close contact with a person known to have it, or people who live in or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread, are an increase. I'm waiting. Listen, where's the fact that getting the disease
You need to see my
causes
dead.
death?
But you need to see my dead body to be.
I'm waiting to get
convinced.
this.
Why do you
Someone,
think that death is the ultimate deciding factor
Exactly.
as to how
People
much
just get sick and
how
yeah.
much
because
issues it
people
causes?
get
Work.
sicknesses all the time.
I
It's
know,
4
but
days.
this
Your
is-
body reacts, and you don't get it anymore.
So people who are actually looking at this, who are qualified, say it's going to cause way more
They said it's gonna
deaths
be
than
like
the regular
3
than the
times
regular
amount.
flu.
Where the regular
that's,
flu mortality
that's
is
the
like
best
1%,
stab at
this
it
is
right now.
3%. I think that was the figure I heard. 1% versus 3%.
There's a dude who just had
That's
an
lot.
interview with Joe Rogan in his last podcast, who's a epidemiologist,
not-
calls himself a medical researcher, and he's got all types of really good, it's scary, of course,
Nah.
but really reasonable information on this as he explains what it comes from
Well,
and how he
Jamie
breaks
and I
it
are
all
the
down.
sole survivors of this plague, and our dogs had
survivors.
plenty of food while you, Michael, I don't know, you're off mutating somewhere. You'll
So-
remember.
Mutating.
You'll remember
A
what we
vaccine
said.
update.
You will remember.
Michael's going to go radioactive from the coronavirus.
Eating right now?
Fact 3, someone who has
Fact three.
completed
What was
quarantine.
What was fact 2?
Some people are at increased risk of getting it. Those people have had
If you're
contact.
near people who have had contact or
Fact
in an area
3.
where it is known to be spreading.
Someone who has completed quarantine or has been released from isolation does not pose a risk of infection to other people.
Right.
But
So
can still
14
get it.
days, they're saying.
You get it again, right?
They may not have it.
They may not have it.
No,
Exactly.
just 14 days after exposure, right?
Yeah, usually sets in after 4 days, but they go up to 14
Up to
days.
14. So if you don't show any signs,
If no,
then-
what they're doing, what this refers to, if you've had exposure with someone and you quarantine yourself for
That's what I
14
said.
days, you are not at risk to give it to somebody else
After 14 days.
days.
That's
but
what
you
we
can
said,
still
yeah.
get it again yourself.
I don't know
no,
if that's true.
no, you can't.
It's
I
not
don't
even
think you-
suggesting that after
Oh,
quarantine,
maybe you can. You're right. If you didn't catch it. Yeah.
Or you might not have had it.
you may not have had it.
You may not have ever had it, so you're
Right.
still
But if
susceptible
you
to
have
getting
had
it.
it,
Yeah.
I don't know that you can get it again.
No, I think you probably
And
have an
because that's a
immunity.
vaccine.
And for all we know,
Yeah,
some people can
exactly.
carry it and still
Sure,
pass it
yeah,
on,
be
but
carriers.
not
There's a
be
lot of stuff
affected by
works
it
like that,
themselves.
Yeah.
Some people may have it because it doesn't.
But just because we don't have all of the facts, should we minimize this?
No,
The answer is no, but
I'm not minimizing. I'm reading facts, and I'm even adding
No,
to the
I
facts.
know,
which
but
is that
you keep coming up with more.
knowing
you know,
that it is incubated in your body for 14 days means that it may not after. That's why they use it 14 days because you may have exposure to it and not know,
right?
Or know, and it's only after 14 days that the symptoms would show themselves. That's the point of it, right?
Right.
You can help stop this by knowing the signs and symptoms, which are fever, cough, shortness of breath. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have had it. There are simple things you can do to help keep yourself and others healthy. Wash your hands. Avoid touching your eyes. Stay at home when you're sick.
This is fact 5. You blew right through fact 4 and went into fact 5 without announcing
Are
it.
there
I just wanted to-
factoid 6 also and 7?
How about a vaccine?
What do you do?
Nope.
What do you do if you're
One
sick?
side.
What to do if you're sick?
Stay at home,
There you go.
except to get medical care. Separate yourself from other people and animals in your home.
And
Animals, absolutely.
Yes, dog.
Well, they might
said dogs
carry
can
it or get
contract
sick.
it. No, they said
Coronavirus
dogs can.
is a
If you're
foul
sick, don't give it to the
virus,
dog,
not
is
to
what
It
say
they're
came from an
bad,
animal.
foul
They can go
bird.
back. They
They're
said
eating
you can
bats
contract
or
it, and
something.
They had some kind of dogs that are.
Call ahead before visiting your doctor. Wear a
Do
face
they
mask.
display the same symptoms?
I don't know. I don't know.
Cover your cough and sneezes. You want to talk about the animal? Let's see.
Yeah.
People, as much as possible, you should stay in a specific room and away from other people in your home. Also, you should use a separate bathroom if available. Animals.
See, this
do
is why
not
I'm gonna
handle
die.
pets or other animals
That's my
while
one
sick.
bathroom.
See the
I will be dead.
COVID-19 and animals for more information. There's a
Oh,
link there.
boy.
Click it. I can
I'm
explain
gonna
that more.
have to get
Have to click
in
it
the
up.
event I
Call ahead before visiting your doctor.
Quarantine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wear a face mask. You should wear a face
Yeah,
mask
just
when
don't
you are
fly
around
into
other
your
people.
doctor's
Joel, look at Joel for an example.
This is an
Or
example.
pets.
This is-
if you
this
have
is
it,
the
and this is
new
the mask you
visit
should
your-
wear
yeah.
if you have it yourself. Because
If you're
it
visiting the
contains-
doctor, dress
If
like
you
this.
have it yourself.
If you
Avoid-
if you feel that you are sick and you have it
mask.
yourself, this is the mask to wear. If you're a caregiver, they have a totally different mask that actually protects stuff from going in. But this is something you should wear if you believe you are ill and sneezing and coughing
Yes,
and carrying
make sure
on.
you pull it over your
But the
nose, too.
coronavirus has been, in its different forms, has been out there affecting animals, the whole fowl industry. Not to say fowl bad, but birds. I mean, this is
See, birds, Jamie.
birds
It's
get
birds.
antibiotic and to treat coronavirus for them. In fact, the Israelis claim that they have a vaccine that they've been using, in bird, chicken coops. And they believe that they can adapt that strain of coronavirus that they use to take care of chickens, the antibiotics in our food chain, and adapt it to humans, and they may be able to have clinical to preclinical testing in about 3 months with that. I mean, they've had their own little...
And tell my left-wing leaning friends, you tell me a reason why BDS isn't the dumbest, stupidest thing that could ever exist after reading that.
Can I come and tell them too? Because
please,
Okay.
I can't even. I mean, you're reading.
That's a whole different show, though,
I know
but
it
I'd
is,
love
I
to
know
talk
that.
about that with somebody who would disagree with me. But okay, go ahead.
What's BDS?
Boycott, divest, and
sanction. It's an anti-Israel proposal.
So what else is
supported
new?
by
People
the
have
left?
been-
The left.
Listen, if people kept kosher, we wouldn't have to worry about this.
Exactly.
If people weren't eating bats
Or
and
the
eating
religion of
dogs,
dragon
Or if
beliefs,
people
which
were
would
all
be
we're
vegan.
slaughtering
Yeah, if
things
everybody
that
was
you shouldn't
vegan.
eat,
Yeah.
this would never happen. Just, read Leviticus and you'll
If
be okay.
we all were naked, there'd be no rashes.
That's true. But I didn't want to, be Bible thumping here. But eating a bat is not kosher.
It's not kosher in my book.
Is it considered
Who's
trafe?
eating bats?
Yeah. Or anything that's in the wet bar.
Yeah, you
So,
cannot have
is
a
it
bat
time for a-
cheeseburger. Well, we're
it's
almost at the end of the show
okay.
now.
Sorry, I'm just anxious
You just
to
blew right through
We didn't
Jim's
get a
warning.
chance to
get
Jim
some more
warned
cannabinoids
you,
in my
and you
system.
did not.
adjust ourselves before the segment.
Take a break right before a couple minutes left for the end of the show.
We could take it and then extend the show.
Wait, it's
by
the
10
last 10 minutes. That's usually when we go to the hemp segment so we can separate the heavy THC aspects of the show.
We got a 5 minute.
now
Okay,
do that
producer steps in with some
0.3%.
good news. Everybody.
5-minute break.
What about Joel and his event?
Right when we come back, Joel will have the floor, right?
There's no event.
Joel
We're
is
done.
coming up right
All
after
right.
the break.
Oh, I've got some data.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Joel
well,
and
no,
Hemp
no,
news.
Tommy took some data from me. We can actually look at some real numbers. that we
Ooh,
couldn't
now,
see.
all right.
Quite possibly he'll continue his thing with the mask.
This has just been a prop.
We'll see everybody in about 5 minutes.
How do you want to know that Joel's a human? He could be a muppet.
Signing off.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
Don't get busted without a good attorney. Check out the new show, Kicking It with Komorn, with your new hosts, Earl and Michael Komorn. Hi, I'm Earl Carruthers. I have been a client of Michael Komorn's, and if you are with an attorney that you don't feel comfortable with, I do want to let you know that there are good attorneys out there. I personally went through quite a few different attorneys before I came Komorn. I could save you some time and some pain. Komorn is truly a loving and kind-hearted attorney and passionate about the law. And he won't just make you take a plea. He will definitely see all the options and let you make a good choice from there. But if you do need a new attorney, or if you're looking for a good attorney to start off with, check out Komorn. Hi, I'm Earl, and want to just let you know, I know how it is to trying to go through and find an attorney. It's kind of sometimes it's just a shot in the dark. You don't know. You don't trust them. You're not sure how they're going to fight your case if you're just another number. But I do want to reach out and let you know that Komorn definitely is a solid attorney. He leads with passion, with care, and he doesn't just lay down. And he doesn't just let you take a plea. Doesn't let you take a plea. He is there for you all the way. He'll give you all the options. And if you need a fighter, he's there for you.
It's time for Planet Green.
We have launched.
We've completely launched. We've started the show. And it is Planet Green Trees. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan and nationally and internationally and even in Spaceland. There's an argument that we evolved from the cannabis plant. Let's just be honest, okay?
Ow, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
420th episode.
If you're a connoisseur, you're going to want the good stuff. And if you want the good stuff, you're going to go for the mom and pop stuff because that's the good stuff.
It's just a real pleasure to come here and congratulate you on your 420th show, and thank you for having me on a few times over the 420.
The system is built to herd you into pleas of guilty. There's a herding mentality. Follow the leader over there, jump into the river, try to swim across and not get eaten by the alligators. It happens every day in courts across the state of Michigan. There are ways to avoid this. There are issues that can be identified. There's motions that can be filed, evidentiary hearings that could be had, and ways to fight back and push back. Don't get herded into the Mirror River. Don't get eaten by an alligator. Don't get herded. Call me before you plea. Attorney Michael Komorn.
And now back to more Planet Green Trees.
They're on.
Been on before. Oh, we're back.
Yay.
And we're back. And we came back for a specific reason, and I'm going to remember what it is right now. That was that Joel was going to
Hemp Corner.
indulge us in the Hemp Corner information.
But just to wrap up our last conversation,
Please
one
do.
of our listeners and friends of the show, Rob Bethke, sent me some information just to put into perspective some of the discussion here.
Something to shoot Michael down?
Ohio, no, not necessarily, just to offer more information into the mix to consider.
Some potential data.
Ohio health official estimates 100,000 people in that state have the virus.
I believe it.
100,000, that's a big number.
Well, a
Before
lot
we
can
go to-
spread out from that 100,000. It's just getting fucking
Yeah,
started.
that's just the root of it, Michael.
What is Michael? Why am I at the end of this? Listen, if I came off as a flat earther, which apparently I...
You think that the coronavirus is nutritious.
Let it be known that I would advocate no meat eating. We wouldn't have this problem. And I'm blaming everybody else. All you crazy meat eaters brought this to me. I wouldn't have to deal with this. Screw you guys.
Well, you don't
I'm going
eat
home.
bad
I'm going
anyway.
home. Just kidding.
But you are a man of science. There's no doubt about that.
All right. And speaking of science, let's hear from the poet.
Well, last week we had a chance to review some data from a conference where thoughts of the pricing of hemp seed as well as the results of this last season's hot and too hot crops. We were able to get some of these graphs out there, so I thought we could share whatever Tommy has available to put up, and I'll do my best to talk through them. But so we can wait for that to come up, or briefly, there's this thing that Michael put in front of me that talks about the USDA blaming the DEA for all the rules in the hemp, in industrial hemp, and there's a lot of truth to that. But there's the data that was looking at pricing of what the sale price is for industrial hemp in the world of a CBD, and this is what our Michigan farmers were going for. They were all excited about the prices of CBD biomass and flower and distillant. It all has to be THC free, and you can see there are high and low values there in terms of the price for kilogram, and that was pretty exciting for a lot of Michigan farmers. They did produce, and a lot of them couldn't find processing. A lot of them are storing the biomass over the winter, which will hopefully not be a bad thing, but could be. Those that were able to find processors are actually now storing their product because the market has gotten so saturated that the pricing is not what they expected. So is there another slide we can put up there? Because we can finish out the show on data. We have data for hemp. We don't have data for coronavirus.
We do. We got 1,000.
Oh, that's
reports
right.
in Ohio. What are you talking about?
100,000.
That's true.
100,000.
If we
Okay, again,
Six figures.
I'm minimizing it again.
We only
Earth is
knew
flat.
certain full-spectrum CBD could solve coronavirus.
Yeah, how does does CBD help with
That
coronavirus?
I have no idea. I mean, the one thing that I don't even know what CB does in general for even arthritis.
I think it'd be
or-
illegal for either of you to speak on that. It would be prohibited because you cannot be suggesting that the hemp plant in any way, shape,
I
or
don't
form.
have any idea what CBD does. I think that's a part of the biggest problem. I mean,
What other
it's-
data do you have that
it's
you want
a-
to share with us?
Well,
No, the slides. That's not.
Oh, it's there was one slide that actually showed of the I think we had approximately
Michigan.
500 Michigan farmers who grew, and we did have a slide that talked about the range of those people who were compliant versus the number of farmers that were. It's that green and red bubbly chart there that you saw. Well, that's a bar
Joe, just to
chart.
clarify what you're talking about, we gotten the data from the Michigan Hemp Pilot Project. They
Correct.
reported out the number of acres that were grown of hemp, the number of people that grew it, what the strains were that were being grown. We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Now we actually have that documentation, which we're attempting to put onto the screen for our viewers at home to observe while you speak about it, right?
Well, that's the goal. I think I see it brought up on the machine. It's just a matter of punching it onto the screen.
Watch Magic Tommy.
This is a good one. This is a good one. So you can see that black line at that magic 0.3%, which is that's the median between those green dots. Those dots represent the number of farmers and fields that actually were compliant with the grow. And all of those little red dots that went above that, those are the strains
Let's
that
see that.
farmers grew that were not compliant. As you can see, most farmers were certainly within the realm of 0.3%, and above or below, I mean, that's the interesting thing. There's even some strains you can see on the very bottom, there are no THC whatsoever. So this is what we have to live with now.
What's that percentage? I mean, it looks like it's significantly more green than it is red.
Well, that's good. That means in the farmers...
What's the numbers? What's the data on that?
The data of how many farmers in total.
What's
I don't
the-
know how many farmers actually were compliant.
Right, but it's, I'm suggesting it was 60.
The green represents stuff that was passable, that was not hot.
Each of those dots
60%-ish, didn't it say?
it looks to be even more than 60%
Okay, I was
when we had compliant farmers. The
conservative.
problem is then they had compliant crops, but then they had to then find processing, and then they ended up having to find a market for their CBD oils. And,
Wait,
and
were
that-
do you have reports on where it was transferred to and who it was transferred to? Or
This is only anecdotal, but when I went to one of the local events, which was in January, the big buzzword was we are vertically integrated, which means since they had problems trying to find processors that they felt comfortable with, you had farmers who were able to not only invest in growing, but they also invested in their own processing, and then they also ended up bottling their own product, which they ended up selling. So if it was confusing enough to figure out what certain percentages of what CBD would be good for one ailment or nutraceutical opportunity, you now had all these Michigan farmers with their own brands trying to sell the same product within the retail sector. So it was a good pilot, but you know, as a pilot, it's a great opportunity to recognize the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And next week in the Hemp Corner, maybe we will analyze what the data really means and what some of the suggested approaches are going forward.
Well, that would be, I think that requires a good, solid state trade association that could get some alliances of leaders who are farming who want to share.
So I think we can just go with it. I mean, you felt confident in my analysis of the coronavirus. I'm sure you'll.
Well, if we
indulge
use
me
that
with
as a
the hemp.
benchmark of data and opinion, I think we can totally talk about Michigan hemp.
So I think it'd be cool to get Tony and Mark Shanaquet to call in or to come in.
Who are those people? Please reference
They are
them.
hemp farmers. They've been through the
Fantastic.
process. They do work with some groups and organizations. They have processed their own products. They have produced products and sold them. So
I
exactly
think
what you just described.
That's fantastic.
It's exactly. We
And,
saw them up north
I've
at
met them
John's
many
place.
times, but
Yeah.
like Northeast Michigan Normal has housed them and let them speak on those
That would be
processes, and
great.
I found it really. In fact,
They
Deb,
gave a
was there and
great
everything
presentation.
too. Yeah, and
And
they're really
involved-
interesting. Yeah.
They're involved in a larger group of hemp growers in northern Michigan.
Yeah, and they've been inspiring a lot of Native Americans in the area to be involved in this and to get it on the reservations and stuff like that.
had a
too.
lot of
Tribal
trouble,
laws
though.
and the tribal opportunities are really a great advantage because they get to work internationally with the tribes in Canada, and there's going to be a lot of synergy in their networking and successes.
I don't know.
So
They had a lot of issues, a lot of bad stuff with this cropping this last year. Nobody could sell their crop.
Started late. There was a lot of rain. And
They
some
let-
people didn't have buyers lined up.
Right,
for their,
no
for their
buyers.
crop.
They're sitting. They couldn't
a lot
sell
of
it.
farmers jumped without having
There's
a
no
sale in
well. There's
mind.
no manufacturing line really to feed it into.
You don't have to tell me. I've
And
found
so that was the
manufacturers to
problem.
be able to
Yeah.
make hemp tissue if we
So-
only be able to process the right
Well,
kind of
that's
hemp,
just
which
it.
CBD isn't,
That's just
to be
it.
made into the right pulp for the
So
right paper.
next
So
year things will get going on a
I'm
more
hoping- yeah.
regular farming kind of a
I think-
schedule.
I
It'll
think
be
it'd great
larger
to get the names
farms.
of
All that kind of
these hemp farmers and maybe lead the show with it. But that's up to Michael. We may still be into the
Well,
coronavirus.
if we're going to talk about this subject, they'd be good to be involved. Is my
We may
my
not even
point.
be here next week because of the coronavirus.
No, we'd all just be calling in. We'll all do it. All do it from our quarantined areas.
That's right. Tommy will be here, and we'll all Skype it in.
We'll all do it from our alcohol wipe down phones from our quarantine areas.
There we go.
Yeah, Skype that stuff.
Exactly.
Well, I guess we're done.
It's good stuff.
Well, I got a picture in my head of your mask and all that, and
Yeah.
it was just.
Did you like it?
Planet Green Trees, another good one.
Yeah.
So are you taking over and we're wrapping it up right now? Is that
Well,
good?
I do have the final information. Okay,
over to him.
there were
Post
603
being done.
registered growers. 603 registered growers. There were 850 outdoor locations responsible for over 15,000 acres, but not more than 16. And there were 300 indoor locations, which I think is really significant. And there were only 483 licensed processors. And I believe a lot of those processors maybe three-quarters of them might have been farmers as well. So that
Sure.
capsules
Makes sense.
it.
Process your own stuff. Yeah.
No, they had no choice.
All
Actually, the
good.
state kind of forced them into being processors.
Yeah, and that was just the start. So it was good that anything it was in question whether or not anything was going to be able to even get started last year, and it did. But this next year there should be a lot more activity, more people involved, bigger farms, a little bit learned from the first time around.
Well, let's get the name
So-
of the farmers you know, and we'll prep them to come in next
Yeah,
week.
that'd be cool. Yeah, and they're the way the hell up in Northwest Michigan, so maybe they'll just want to call in, but we'll see. Yeah,
Any UP farmers, you know?
possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But they're pretty far up there in the lower peninsula.
and
they cover the
and they
lower
know
UP
everybody,
field a
so they
little
know
bit.
all the growers. You know, then they're.
Excellent.
Yeah, they've been really active in the
Really
scene. They've been
active,
trying to.
yeah.
They've put on a couple of the.
Well, they
or
have
been
an
a part of a couple of the big
organization.
hemp expos and stuff like that. So they're pretty hip.
Cool.
And they'd be good for this conversation. They are what you described.
Yeah. And they can articulate what's happening. They know exactly what's going on, and
they're up to their eyeballs in it.
Oh, they definitely are. And they're cool people.
Yeah. Michael, you gonna close?
Fuck Bill Shooty.
There we go.
Wowzers.
That was a good one.
Tommy did another awesome job.
Yeah.
Jim figured out the Skype, the historic Ben Horner Skype in tonight.
What's the date? Today's the what?
Can I Bluetooth earphones, by the way, Tommy? Is that
these are not Bluetooth?
Man, there's new
are those Bluetooth?
new headphones on the scene.
Those are just patched in through.
I got to use the better mic for a little while tonight. Talk about the wreck coming to Botanical Company. Clearly state the superior case when it comes to perspective on the coronavirus. It was a good night.
Did we close?
For truth and integrity on Planet Green Trees.
Yes.
Jim, of course, was also good.
I was.
Jim's always awesome. That's why I choose to sit next to him.
He is. He is.
I hope
he's
someone
not
as
known to
awesome
have the
as-
coronavirus. Neither are you, so that's okay
I
for right
know.
now.
This is the sterile area
We're
over here.
COVID-19 free.
We are. We've totally
Yeah.
sterilized and wiped down our surfaces over
Oh,
here.
I noticed that.
I did Amanda's too when she wasn't in the room.
Thank you.
Lemon
You're welcome.
scented.
Well, I thought you were Jason. to
Amanda
me,
sits
so
in a
you
clean
better be good.
space.
Yep.
Very nice. Joel demonstrated, the proper attire for not ever running into any issues.
Carrying your own pack of wipes, you never know where you're going to be.
Yeah, it's never hurts to wipe. A little extra.
It's actually pretty good.
And then there's
John,
the,
man.
the infected zone over by Jamie and Michael over there.
Never talked about your stuff that much, but it's always good, and you guys are always doing a great job up there. And I know that we're going to have another event coming up.
It's happening this year.
Yeah.
It's unequivocal. The date.
Yeah, because it's late enough in the summer. That'll still go, I think.
It'll definitely happen.
The virus
Yeah.
will burn off by then.
Even if it doesn't, we're all gonna
They're
we'll hold a mini version in
Bring
Jamie's
Trump.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Please.
In the context of all
If
the
it doesn't
other
happen.
cannabis events, because they all were
Camp and
canceled. Like, I mean, who's showing up to Hash Bash? Raise their hand.
I think I probably am.
I'm not raising. I'm saying raise your hand. I'm showing you how to raise your hand.
I'll be there.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
You guys will be there?
Yes.
Deborah
This
and
is
I
Deborah?
talked to John the other day, and it kind of helped to fire me up and give me a little perspective.
Yeah.
I still will practice some social distancing.
I thought you were gonna.
Are you going to Jamaican it?
You think that's
I'm going to
sa-
go
you think
Jamaican
that's safe,
style.
Jamie?
I definitely am. I
It's
think
not real safe. It's
What
not
is
real
Jamaican?
smart, but I still feel kind of compelled to do it.
Oh, I see.
What is Jamaican?
just everybody will have.
smokes
Everybody
your
has their
own.
own joint, so
That's
you know.
why I
don't
like
pass to other people.
wasn't passing it to you.
That's
It wasn't
why he
because
was
I
not
didn't
You're
want
puffing,
to. or I
but you're
thought I
not
could.
I had
passing.
to give
Yeah.
you that little one I rolled, but
But I do want to smoke a joint now that.
Yeah, now we're
will
talking
be more
about puffing and
communal, maybe. I
yeah.
feel safer. in
Are we
defiance
still
of
on?
the,
No, we're
health
done.
ordinance.
It's over.
No, we're
and,
still on.
This is wrapping up.
Still on?
basically.
Okay, yeah. So wrapping it up, and I think all that needs to be said so far.
if you're listening tonight, you are invited to the private party, August 14th through the 16th, Cannapalooza worldwide.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Michael, for having me tonight.
We will
Wait
be
till he
there.
starts again and then give him a little bit more.
We'll definitely be there.
A little bit.
We're
more
legacy. We have to be there.
Legacy.
Yeah.
I got a
Let's
really
go over
nice.
here.
Not as far north this
By the
time.
way,
all right.
if you want to support the Cannapalooza, you can get in touch with John and
Yeah,
Nikki
those are really nice.
and get one of these really comfortable hemp.
Hemp.
They're made of hemp.
Oh, wow.
They're real hemp. They're not cotton. They're made of hemp.
It's hemp.
Joe, I'll
That's
give you
really
one, but I'm
awesome.
keeping these. Sorry.
I
I'm
understand.
going to make you buy one.
I got one for you if you want in the car. Actually.
Friends should buy
$40.
things from friends. They shouldn't expect
got
them to be
one?
given away.
$40.
Joel, John's got one for you if you want one.
Oh God, I had it sold already. Just kidding. All right, that's all for now.
We'd
I
be
think we've
happy to
covered
wipe
it.
you for one.
Booms are many.
Grow hemp.
You might have to strip it into whenever.
It ain't fair, John Sinclair, in the stir for breathing air. It ain't fair, John Sinclair, in the stir for breathing air. Set him free, let him be, breathing air like you and me. What's the judge to do? What else can Judge Columba do? We got to set him free. This whole place went nuts. If he was a soldier man, shooting gooks in Vietnam. If he was CIA, selling dope and making hay, he'd be free, breathing air like you and me. What's a judge do? what else could Judge Columbo do? Well, we got to set him free. And sure enough, that was Saturday, and then next Monday, John Sinclair walked out of jail. And the Supreme Court issued an opinion in People versus John Sinclair that said, it's cruel, it's unusual, it's arbitrary, it's irrational, it's capricious, and it cannot be the law in the state of Michigan that we treat marijuana the same way we treat opioids. And they set him free. Hi, I'm Jeff Frazier. I'm one of the attorneys at Komorn Law, and we have law. It is still a controlled substance, and not only is it still a controlled substance, it's still a Schedule I controlled substance. And being Schedule I controlled substance means that it is contraband per se, and that its mere presence is evidence of a crime, and it justifies the raids. Michigan State Police spend 40% of their resources going after marijuana that is allowed for medical use, is licensed by the state, is now been voted into law by the people of this state to be legal for adult use. And yet it's still 40% of the police budget, still 40% of the prosecutor's daily load, it's still 40% of the Michigan State Police Crime Lab daily load. And it's still Schedule I, which justifies the stops, the searches, the seizures, and more importantly, the raids. And that means men with AR-15s and ski masks going in where men, women, and children and dogs and grandparents, are quietly sitting there watching TV. And because the neighbor complained of the smell of marijuana coming from a basement window, these patients or caregivers and now any citizen in the state is allowed to grow. The continued placement of marijuana on the Michigan State list of controlled substances is just simply absurd. Hopefully we'll get our hearing. If not, then we'll fight it out in the Court of Appeals and ultimately back to the Supreme Court that originally spoke in the case of John Sinclair back in 1971. It's time for, this absurdity that has forever lived at the heart of the drug war to be done with. And the way to do that is to take marijuana off the controlled substances list altogether. It's no longer to be policed. It's to be regulated. 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, they've been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
Komorn Law. Michael Komorn is one of the top attorneys in Michigan that has experience and dedication in criminal defense law. Komorn Law can take your case from arrest all the way from trial, appeals, and even to the Supreme Court. The team at Komorn Law has the compassion and the experience you can look to for help in your time of need. Komorn Law has over 25 years experience in criminal defense. We have accomplished numerous legislative changes through community involvement and lobbying. Our award-winning law firm has a reputation like no other for keeping overreaching government accountable and in check. We have built Komorn Law for people who need lawyers to stand up to the system, fight back and win. Once we become your lawyer, you become a part of our family. Don't settle for less, just ask our clients. Komorn Law, the best damn criminal defense lawyers, period.